I'd like to call the Rules and City Government Committee meeting to order. Please note for the record, Alderman Arnett and Alderman Schandelmeyer are here. We're being joined by Alderman Savage and staff. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, the next item is approval of the minutes from the February 7th meeting.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, going on to legislation.
Madam Chair,
Alderman,
with regard to the minutes, it records that the Rules Committee took action on R 5324, but at lunch, it was brought up that the council has writ large suspended actions on these, both of the resolutions. Is my understanding there correct?
I'll ask City Manager Buckland. R 5324. That's not the understanding I had during the council meeting. So can you tell us what the administration's position is on R 53?
I think it's been through all the committees.
Right, and it was on the agenda for Monday night.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Ross, could you ask the question, please?
So I believe all of the committees, the standing committees that had R 5324 before them, have taken action. This committee has not finished R 5424, but I was given the understanding that at our last city council meeting, we suspended action on both of those two resolutions. Is that correct? I'm just trying to do, okay, that is correct. All right, just wanted to make sure I understood what was going on.
So the question, did we suspend action or did we postpone action?
Postponed.
We simply postponed action on R 53, even though that had already gone through committee.
Right.
It is R 54, but the administration wants them to travel together. Is that why it wasn't voted on Monday?
Well,
the ordinance and R 3424 and R 5324 are related. And so having them, having final consideration for them at the same time makes sense, because depending upon what you do with one, that may affect what you do with the other.
that's right. I remember.
So the ordinance, and that's not what I was asking about, though. I was asking about the two resolutions. But
the resolutions can be independent. R 53 and R 54 can be handled separately.
okay, but the council did not take an action on R 53, even though all council committees had finished with that work.
That is my understanding.
Okay. So what we're dealing with today is R 54. Okay, does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm up to speed.
Okay, I hope we're all so. Okay. So going on to our first piece of legislation, R 54, changes in the position, classifications, and pay plan. And there are a number of amendments. This is the administration, the mayor's legislation. Amendment 1 is the Savage Amendment. And Alderman Savage, you're present. Would you like to speak to why your amendment speaks to adding 3 new positions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I believe the committee has already taken action on all the amendments on the legislation.
I'm sorry?
I believe the committee's already made recommendations on all of the amendments.
Not the Rules Committee, I don't believe. Did we?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay.
in the February meeting, Amendment 1 carried.
Uh,
Amendment,
You're absolutely right. And I have it in my notes.
sorry.
Right.
So we have approved all of the amendments or voted on all of the amendments, all 7.
Yes, Madam.
So what are we waiting for to get this out of committee? And thank you. You're absolutely correct. We had asked that the directors from the manager for resilience and sustainability, the city clerk, the planning director, and the public works director come before us to answer questions about positions. So maybe we will have, do you gentlemen have questions for them now that they're in the room with us?
Yes.
So could we get the directors up to the table, please? Sure. More the merrier.
If you could please join us as well, Director Vogel. I think we want everybody up at the table.
We'll let Miss Regina sit over it. Close enough. Mr. Vogel, you can pull up a chair. Okay, so gentlemen, you have questions for the directors about specific positions within their department? Alderman Channemeyer? Alderman Arnett?
I'm trying to recollect. Sorry. Trying to reconstruct what went on. I know we wanted to ask the deputy manager about the positions, but do you remember, Ram?
Alderman Savage?
I think some of the questions, I don't remember specific for the department, but I think for Ms. Hopkins, there were questions about overall, I don't know how to put it, philosophy or strategy on having what positions need career ladders and which don't. I think is that.
Ms. Hopkins?
Tricia Hopkins, Human Resources Manager. For Krista Hubiak for Planning and Zoning, you had a question about recommendation for the position formerly occupied by Tom Smith. That's recommended for grade change down to 17 to be equivalent to the other chiefs in the department. That was a specific question that you had. And you're right, we had kind of an overall conversation around the career ladders themselves, but more specifically for planning and zoning, that was the question that you had for Director Jacobiak.
Sure. My notes from the last meeting was that for planning and zoning, the question was around the chief of current planning and that recommendation to go to an N17. For public works, it was a question about creating a unified engineer ladder rather than having separate civil engineer, stormwater engineer, traffic engineer, and how that ladder would function as a unified series. For the city clerk, asking about the naming convention for the deputy city clerk position, and for resilience and sustainability, some additional knowledge about how that career ladder was envisioned to function.
Could we take these individually by department? And I think what we're asking is, it appears that the company that was hired has made some recommendations, and it's in the form of our resolution. And we wanted to hear from the directors on how those changes whether you would support those changes and how they would impact your work. Am I capturing?
That is correct.
Okay. So, Mr. Jakubiak, would you speak to the planner Is it chief of planning?
The position is the chief of current planning. It was until the retirement of the previous incumbent, classified as 18, level 18. All of the chiefs in our department who head various divisions are at 17. It didn't make sense to me to keep it at 18, given that all of our other chiefs are at 17. I actually made the recommendation to the consultant doing the study, so I support the change.
So your request would be to keep them all at 18, but
At 7.
at 17.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Certainly, I see no justification for having one division chief at 17 or at 18 while all the others are at 17.
Okay.
Unless that person was a deputy director or some other level position like that. And that's not the case. And again, this is an open position, so it affects no one. There's no incumbent in this position.
Questions?
No, that's exactly what we wanted to know. It's on
Mhm.
page 8 of the staff report, about in the middle of the page. And we just wanted to make sure everybody was on board with these changes.
Well, thank you for asking for my input. I appreciate that.
Thank you. The next position, is it in resilience, sustainability?
So, I'm Jackie Gall, Deputy City Manager for Resilience and Sustainability. The issue here is that we are creating a career ladder series. So, under the Environmental Program Coordinator position. So, there would be Environmental Program Coordinator 1, 2, and 3, so that as the people in those positions gain skills and experience, they can have an opportunity to move up a career ladder. We currently have one person in that position, but we were approved in the last budget, an FY25 budget, to hire an entry-level position. So that entry-level position would fall in this career ladder as well.
So in that your department, we would be creating a new career ladder with new positions, actually, since we only have had one.
There's another one approved. So there should be 2 right now, but we have not been able to hire for that position pending the approval of the CNC study.
But the recommendation
Is for
that-
one more position within that career ladder so that there is an opportunity to move up. So the person who is in that position right now is classified, I believe, as an N12. They could apply to move to an N13.
I don't think we were questioning the need for a career ladder. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we were talking about creating a new position that wasn't in our budget.
Not necessarily.
Actually,
But it wasn't.
That
one was, but
One was.
both of
one-
them are in.
so there
the
were 2 that are
FY25
in there,
budget.
not the third one.
There's not a third position. We're
No.
just talking about 2 positions.
We're talking about
But you're
2
creating
positions.
a career ladder for 3, are you not?
The career ladder would have 3
3 rungs on it.
to it.
Mhm.
That how many positions are associated with that ladder is sort of a separate question. So in this case, there's only 2 positions that would be associated with that ladder.
Okay. We have created in one of the amendments, the First Amendment,
First Amendment, right.
the 3 steps. But if I remember correctly, HR did not make a recommendation, or those positions did not go through HR. You all need more than one
Yeah,
mic
can't
down
we
there.
have more-
I mean, the feedback is that the career ladder itself came through by amendment, not through the study.
Yeah, because the study started 20 months ago. At this point, these positions would go through the same process as any other career ladder, working with HR to make sure that the differences between the different rungs of the ladder are well articulated along the lines of those job factors. The same way that HR is going to work with everybody else to make sure that those rungs are well articulated.
Okay. Question?
No, as I think was said earlier, we did approve all these amendments, but we wanted to just make sure. I have some generic questions about the career ladders themselves and also the distinction between deputy and assistant, but they're not germane to the amendments, and I think that's a more general conversation to have with the HR director. So,
Okay.
yes, Public Works is next.
Director Vogel?
Bert Vogel, Public Works Director. So I understood the question for Public Works to be around the engineer career ladder. Many of the same things we just heard. Very valuable. You will notice, the big change is it's not civil engineer anymore. It's just engineer. So we don't need to be that discipline specific. This gives us the versatility to move the people through. It's just not overly restrictive. So it's very helpful to have a more generalized job description. And then, kind of with the approach that we've been going for here for a year and a half, is that when we advertise for a specific specialization with engineering, we then add that in the job announcement.
Okay.
If we're
and
looking for
how-
a traffic engineer, we say we're looking for a traffic engineer, and here is the general position description. We can add qualifications.
And are you able to fill all of those positions as in the current format that you're using? Without the career ladders without the career.
So the old system that we had kind of sort of worked, but it wasn't ideal. Certainly having people who have 30 or 40 years of experience handling large programs fully independently with a lot of financial complexity, some political dynamics at the exact same position description as somebody who's 2 years out of college. Just not ideal.
Yeah, I don't think we would argue
Right.
that at all.
So these changes are just hugely beneficial.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the staff report, and again, I thank Assistant City Manager for the regrouping so we can look at this by department. I think one of the questions that came to mind to me was eliminating the designation stormwater. And I think what I just heard you say, Director Vogel, is having a more direct, generic title of engineer program manager gives you more flexibility. And if I'm correctly understanding that, that's fine. But I do worry. I would like to know how we make sure that stormwater is still something that gets attention.
So, I mean, it's a great question, right? So we still have our org chart, we still have our budgets, and so the three positions that are in the stormwater engineering department will do stormwater things. Again, it's just this idea of it's a best practice from a human resources standpoint to not have over proliferation or overly detailed position descriptions. To handle that level of specificity in terms of the expertise you're looking for when you take a hiring action. And that also allows us to be to keep up with current standards. Because the job descriptions had to come back to council if you ever wanted to change them, they weren't super flexible.
Just to clarify on that, when we had the Civil Service Board reviewing those job descriptions for civil service positions, it really slowed.
That's what I meant.
And then
Right.
if you added a title that wasn't already there, that's when we're back to that specific title going through this whole process. Honestly, what we tried to accomplish through the course of this study was to where it made sense, both in legislatively, thank you very much for removing the Civil Service Board from that responsibility. I never quite understood what they added in value to that review. What I tried to accomplish for the departments is to meet the business necessity faster. And so if the council said, we need another stormwater engineer, We already have a title. We don't have a specific thing that we have to get a tweak or get approval for. We have the ability to go in there and put a working title on a position when we advertise it and pull in only those specifics. Before, we used to advertise for whatever was in the description. It didn't allow us to really concentrate in the area of interest that the department needed to fill. We ran into this with accountants. We ran into this with planners. We ran into this with accounting associates even throughout the department. So if you wanted accounts receivable over accounts payable, sorry, you got to put the whole description out there. So now I feel like we're in a much, much better position to be able to tailor and to work very closely with the department and all of the interests out there. I think we went through this more recently, even with Alderman Savage's input, in trying to make sure that we were accounting for elements of interest and focus of the work quickly. So we could add it in there when we advertise. We could make sure that we were attracting the kind of candidates we were interested in having, and not having to sort through people misunderstanding what we were looking for. So I see this as a huge benefit for us in the city in terms of filling vacancies and turning it around faster. So when you approve something in the budget, hey, that's an engineer. We want that to be a traffic engineer. Guess what? When we advertise it, we'll make it a traffic engineer. We'll put the working title on it. We'll work with Director Vogel. We'll make sure that the description matches what we're after, and off we go. And so that's really, really one of the biggest overlays I was hoping to get out of the course of this study. And I appreciate that Director Vogel's come here to let you know his interest and what he tried to do with the consultants to get there. But I think it's a good example of the collaborative effort to make something more generic with a purpose, not just to, it's not an attempt to ignore what focus we'd like to have in the city. It's really to be more responsive to that more quickly.
And you know that our interest has been that the directors have the opportunity to weigh in on what they need in their respective departments.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
thank you. Alderman Schneidermeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if I'm understanding, by basically making this more generic, we're just now able to be more flexible in the hiring process, and that just lets us adapt as the situation does. So instead of getting this regimented program, we have this a lot more
Flexibility.
Speed, agility,
Yeah.
all those good things.
adaptability. So
Yep.
we can now move with the program faster. If someone has skill in both stormwater and traffic, hypothetically, they can now adjust to both instead of being put in this one program. Seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And last but not
Alderman
least,
Savage.
our city.
Alderman
Oh,
Savage.
sorry, Alderman Savage.
Sorry, just quick. It is the same approach, just for comparison's sake, that the county uses. The county has general engineer 1, 2, 3, engineer manager, senior engineer, or vice versa. But they end up tailoring them, the actual job description, to a certain degree, depending on if it's an engineer in utilities department or stormwater. I'm not 100% sure if they do the same thing for traffic, but I think they do the same kind of thing, and it's worked out.
Yeah, and
Very
I
well.
could speak to that because I used to manage that when I worked for the county, and it is definitely the way you want to go because it allows for that interactive expectation. It's just when I came to the city here, it was a different process with having the civil service board in there. I didn't have the ability to be agile around a description. It required, under the code, approval by the civil service board, so that automatically put us into, well, this is what it is now that we have to work from. And I really appreciate this change. I think that it's a valuable one for us all.
Well, as I said, our interest, I believe, collectively is that the directors have the opportunity to speak to and make sure that their needs are being met. So, all right. Last but not least, I believe our city clerk, Eldridge.
City Clerk Regina Watkins Eldridge. I am here because I was asked to come.
Could you speak into the microphone?
I should know that.
You, of all people, were telling to speak into the microphone.
Regina Watkins Eldridge, City Clerk. I'm here because I was asked to come by Vicki talk to you guys regarding the deputy city clerk's position and I also had a conversation with Alderman Arnett regarding if the deputy city clerk was me when I was out of the office. And the first line of her job description says, acts as a city clerk when she is out. So, and we were listening to your discussions about the title deputy and the salary ranges that were associated with deputy and the salary ranges that were associated with the assistant title. And so I'm here to answer any other questions you may have.
I'm looking for that in the chart. Is the proposal to change it from deputy to assistant
Yes.
or to?
Yes.
Yes, I think that's correct.
And I provided you with the
Page
job
7 of
description for the
staff
deputy.
report.
Yeah, I see it.
Two pages.
Page 7,
Of the staff
middle of the
report, yeah.
page.
Yeah, right.
Changing deputy to assistant city clerk. And so we want to maintain the deputy position since she is is able to replace you in your absence for whatever reason in total, correct?
That's correct.
In addition to her regular responsibilities.
Well, typically, a couple of years ago, I was out sick. And when I was out sick, Cindy was the city clerk until I returned. And I'm not sure how Mr. Lyles divided up, or I'm sorry, you wasn't here. I'm not sure how the previous attorney handled the rest of the work in the office because I was not here.
Okay. Mr. Lyles, would you like to weigh in on this? But you do know that we feel like the city clerk belongs to us. I know she's in your department, but
Yes, ma'am. Mike Lyles, city attorney. The proposal for an assistant city clerk is appropriate. If a deputy city clerk, and we believe a deputy city clerk is appropriate as well, so it's two positions there. The thought is that if one is not going to do the function of the city clerk when the city clerk is absent, then that's an assistant city clerk. If the assistant city clerk adopts the function when the city clerk is absent, that is more appropriate as a deputy, and it provides some ability to promote within. At this time, we have we need the two functions as a way to train up someone with less experience to serve in the function as deputy. And also, if the city clerk is not available, we need a deputy city clerk to be able to step up.
you know, Mr. Lyles, I flew in at 5:00 this morning, so maybe my head is still in the clouds because I'm not clear on. Am I hearing that you need two positions? Am I hearing that there is one position and two responsibilities? Explain this to me again.
Well, I'm just kind of following along what the proposal is.
Which is that we should have a deputy or a deputy to the city clerk.
Well,
Or
right
an
now,
assistant to the
the
city.
deputy,
May I clarify?
Please.
Okay, so this is a title change to the existing position of deputy city clerk that's recommended. What we explained before was that we went through in terms of naming conventions for the second level for department heads. And then once we did that, we went back and looked at where we used the title of deputy on non-second level positions in city government to department heads. This is one of them. The city clerk is not a department head. The city clerk reports, and in fact, it's a civil service position. The city clerk reports to the city attorney. So when we looked at the organizational alignment for non-second level positions not called, that were called deputies that existed elsewhere in city government, this one and the harbor master position were recommended for a title change to assistant. And then conversely, those positions like assistant public works director was recommended for a title change to deputy director of public works, and so on. So it was solely of a naming convention around exactly what I described, making sure that the deputy title was connected to the second level in departments.
But I also want to clarify. I mean, the previous conversation was that that particular piece of feedback that we thought we had heard, toward the start of the class and comp study, probably not where council actually wants to land. And from our perspective, it is just a titling. I don't think that we would have any objections whatsoever to the idea of retaining the existing title. That would be an amendment to this resolution, which would be fine.
Let me also say, too, here's the conundrum we have. We have a non-exempt person serving in an exempt capacity. No matter what you call the position, if the position is non-exempt, civil service, standing in the place of a managerial kind of decision maker, as the exempt clerk is, there may be a little discordant there, because you've got to have somebody to serve in that position when she's unavailable.
If you're talking about exempt in terms of the Fair Labor Standards Act, that's non-exempt in terms of that individual would be entitled to overtime for work performed.
Well, the question I would have is, you're taking someone that's not a manager, and when the manager is gone, making them a manager. And I'm not sure how you do that without some either changing from non-exempt to exempt, even at the assistant city clerk, making it an exempt position like the clerk is.
Okay, well, let me be.
Can we make this a little more generic? Because this is also the case for the harbor master and for OEM. And again, to me, the rationale for somebody being a deputy as opposed to an assistant is that it is someone who is the true alter ego. You can expect that person to step in and function fully with the authority of the actual head of that group, whether it's the harbor master, the city clerk, or the Office of Emergency Management. And I could not find in the class and comp study, it may be there and I didn't see it, but I was trying to get at this essential philosophical distinction, because it isn't just the city clerk. It's several other places in the city classification structure. And it does, I can see, for example, I actually think that any of the attorneys in the Office of Law could step up and take your place, but I do see them as more assistant. They're also more or less assigned to various things. So Jessica comes to things that have to do with planning and zoning, and Ashley does MPIAs and contracts and things like that. So they're not filling the full scope of the city attorney. Same thing with the harbor master. The current deputy harbor master does really step in, and on hours when the harbor master isn't there, does the full scope of things that the harbor master does. Mm-hmm. Same thing in the Office of Emergency Management. So this isn't really just focused on the city clerk. It's focused across the board, this whole philosophy on what's a deputy and what's an assistant. And I think that's why we postponed, was one of the reasons was talk about career ladders and the rationale there, but also the deputy versus assistant. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So we could amend this to change this back to the original as a step to deal with this one issue. And then we could come back as a council to come back with a position about deputies versus assistants. And I understand what Ms. Hopkins is saying, it's all in the line of authority, and whether the person holding the authority is a non represented or not, and the person who's going to take her place is. But can't we fix that in another way?
Yeah.
Okay, so
We can do this today.
right,
We can come back, but just understand that.
you need a microphone.
Excuse me. Even when you're talking with the city attorney and the assistant city attorneys, they're hired with a view that they could perform my functions, 90% of my functions, if I'm not there. Because they don't operate with the codified hiring authority, they wouldn't be able to hire and fire or review performance evaluations. But everything else they should be able to do, and they're all exempt. We're in the same exempt kind of line of the ability to deal with management above us in that way. But I would never have a non-exempt employee do my function, even, if I'm not there. And in this case, we have that kind of issue with the clerk.
Even if it's in the interim?
Well, the problem you got is you got a union represented employee taking on managerial responsibilities.
In the interim?
She's not in the union.
She's not a union, but she's a civil service employee.
Yeah.
You're exempt.
Again, I just want to clarify, non-exempt and exempt in this conversation is about overtime under the Department of Labor rules.
Right.
Overtime?
Overtime. When we say the position is exempt, it means that individual is not subject to the overtime provisions under the Fair Labor Standards Act, which regulates who we compensate at time and a half for hours over 40.
So it has nothing to do with representation?
No.
And the reason
Clearly the status of this position is civil service, not even in the exempt service, which is obviously listed in the exempt service section of the code. It's not an at-will position in the exempt service. It is in our civil service merit type position, as is the city clerk.
I'm civil service. My
Yeah.
position is civil service.
I'm sorry, Mr. Eldridge?
I'm Regina Watkins Eldridge. I'm city clerk. My position is civil service, and so is Cindy's. So is my deputy position.
I should point out, the other deputy level positions in city government. It's the directors and certain members of the mayor's staff and direct reports to the city manager that are in the exempt service and listed in 3.08 of the code.
Well,
Alderman
isn't
Sanders?
everybody in accounting also an exempt employee? Thought accounting was exempt.
No, it varies. They call that classified service, and most of their deputies, not all, are in their classified service. It's the directors and the county executive staff, positions in the county executive staff that are in the exempt service. They also call it the exempt service.
You mean the mayor's office?
County executive's office, we're comparing to the county.
Oh, for the county, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Alderman Chandler, did you have a question?
Yes, Madam Chair. I have a question to bring it back, I guess, to the deputy versus assistant issue. If both positions have the same classification of pay and scale and career path, I'm getting a shaking of heads, so I'm guessing that means they don't, and that answers that question. So I guess that answers that question, so I'll stop asking it.
But that was a question I had. What is the answer? Is
Okay.
deputy paid higher than assistant?
So I guess I'll finish asking the question then.
No, it's not a grade change on the position. Again, the only action here was trying to do a name change, a title change, to be consistent across the city in terms of what's a deputy. And the understanding was, in conversations prior to starting this class and comp study, was that the second level position in a department was the deputy. And there was concern from the council, we heard your concerns, that we weren't consistent in what we called a deputy across the city. And so we were attempting to arrive at some level of consistency across the city both in definition and titling, and to hold that title for the title inclusive of deputy for the second level in a department.
So there is a distinct pay, rank, and career scale difference between deputy and assistant. These terms cannot be used interchangeably. They have distinctly different levels of responsibility, etc. Okay. My
Again,
source of
just setting
confusion was
some philosophy in titling,
Okay.
as Vicki has already stated. If it's the desire of the council not to make that name change, we're not throwing ourselves on the ground here to preserve that. We are trying to make sure that you understand where we were coming from with this change.
my source of confusion is I thought we were starting to use those terms interchangeably here, and it appears that we are not, and so I appreciate the clarification. But thank you.
Well, so I would entertain a motion. We can amend the legislation to change the title back to Deputy City Clerk. The changes to assistant.
I will make that motion, Madam Chair.
And I will second it, but I would also want to discuss the harbor master and the Office of Emergency Management, because the harbor master deputy has been changed to assistant, and it seems to me that that's quite analogous to the city clerk, and wherever Office of Emergency Management shows up in this list. What page is that on?
The harbor master's on page 3. If we could put all three of
Harbor
these.
master.
That has already been voted on as an amendment.
that
amendment
has already
already?
So
occurred.
harbor master, what
Yeah,
about OEM?
that change
Do we
has
also
been
do OEM?
introduced as an amendment, and I believe you've already approved that.
So what
Okay.
amendment? Which amendment was that?
No, we got to get to the. Where are they all?
Rob, was that Alderman Savage? Was that one of your amendments?
Yes.
Sorry, which one?
I think Alderwoman O'Neill
figure
may
that
have
out.
had the.
Yeah.
Savage 3.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Savage 3?
It's amendment
Savage
3.
3.
Yeah,
Where are
which
my
you guys have
amendments?
already acted.
Okay, so amendment 3 has already been taken care
Correct.
of.
Correct.
I mean, the harbor master.
The return to the title, yes.
And what about?
Office
So
of
the
Emergency-
deputy director of Office of Emergency Management never has gone through a title change. That has
Okay.
been, always
Right.
will be, is not suggested for a title change.
Where are my amendments?
Well, I'm looking at the O'Neill amendment that deals with the grade
Yeah, that is not a title
for the
change on that
career
amendment.
ladder.
Yeah, that's not either a career ladder. It's the second level position
Right.
in that department. I believe the amendment's only about the grade assignment.
But it also speaks to the career ladder, which only has 2
That's
rungs.
separately for the emergency management planner series. I know they're together. I think they're together. No, they're separate. Those two are separate. It's the senior.
Amendment 7, which came out of this committee,
Yeah.
was about the grade change for the deputy in OEM.
Well, our amendment 7 deals with the pay grade.
Correct. Yeah, there's not a title change for that.
Right.
Okay, so we maintain the deputy position in OEM.
In both
Correct.
title.
And I
Yeah.
think the other issue was making sure that the senior planner,
Separate
remains
amendment.
separate and apart from the emergency management planner 1 and 2. So those were taken care of,
Yep.
and we recommended favorably both.
That's already been through your process
Yeah.
here.
So the only one that we should address is the one that's on the floor.
Right.
Further discussion about the clerk amendment? Hearing none, all in favor, please
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, I
No.
think we've exhausted all discussion.
Nope.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman
Yes,
Arnett.
Sorry. I'm referring back to the class and comp study itself, because after we create career ladders, there are some questions. I have 2 copies in case you want to
Oh,
look at
good. I
this.
was going to ask if you brought us all copies, but it's only
About the
2 pages.
first of all, I'm a huge fan. I'm so glad we're doing career ladders. But if you look at the class and comp study on page 13, it shows career ladders of steps 1, 2, and 3. Clearly, we have some career ladders in here that are steps 4. And one of the questions in the back of my mind is it's suggested here that one of the aspects for what career ladder you come in on is your years of experience. I assume it's also predicated on KSAs and scope and all of those things. But they did not recommend a career ladder 4, which is in at least a county. And so I guess and also we have career ladders in different organizations that are in different pay clusters. And so, because the ones in accounting are higher than, say, the ones in, I forget where, because it's hard to track all this stuff. So I just wanted to understand, once we create the ladders, which I'm happy we're doing, how do we actually operationalize them? What are the criteria? I remember when I started as a GS7, I had to wait forever to get my 9, and that had to do with KSAs and experience and so forth. So is there going to be rules and procedures in the HR manual that will backfill all of these career ladders?
So I'm pretty sure I addressed this prior, but I want to make sure we understand it for the benefit of everyone here. We developed the career ladders in combination with the departments around existing titles and recognizing that the city tends to hire at least an intermediate level for our positions. A good example is planner. Planner has a planner and a senior planner. But what the department has not had is kind of an entry-level planner that can grow with experience here at the city to become an intermediate level planner and then grow from there. Our senior planners tend to take on much more complex work, are responsible for significant programmatic focus, and those are in some cases where we land with the 4 level. We could have left it as a title of a senior, but again, somebody could really grow up to take on those responsibilities. It's kind of a pyramid where you wouldn't necessarily have everybody become that in the course of their experience, but the work can't only be, to your credit and description, Alderman Arnett, it can only be about how much time you spend here. Right. I mean, that's one of the criticisms of government workers, which is not earned, I must say, in my experience, that you kind of retire in place. We're not after just spending time here. We're after making sure that the nature of the work is more complex, that the nature of the effect of your actions, the impact of your work is more difficult to achieve, and that you require less oversight as you move up and through the organization in terms of this career ladder concept. The need has to be there. I mean, if the work wasn't there, it doesn't justify the change either. So what we're looking at is making sure individuals, through their experience that's evaluated, understood, and respectfully requested by the department director, to move through a career ladder. And what we plan to do, and are doing already, is work with the departments as subject matter experts, have a framework to work from, and that we would develop the levels so that it kind of aligns with, this is entry level, this is an intermediate level, this is a senior level, and this is an advanced level, so that we are really capturing those differences. Not all departments are large enough or complicated enough in terms of the work that required 4 levels. In some cases, it was initially looking like it wasn't even more than 2. And so that that build is there for advancing work rather, in terms of need and application. And so the career ladders themselves would have, again, influence from the departments, and that we'd have criteria, we'd have a way to move through. and that it would also be fiscally supported through the budget process.
So thank you. You answered my question in two ways. One, the career ladders, the number of steps, but also the pay level are tailored to the department. And two, that there will be rules and procedures promulgated that will backfill how we administer the career ladder. And
Yes.
those promulgated rules will come to this committee because we review all new rules and procedures. So I couldn't be happier.
Okay.
And so just so you know, I've also got an individual that because I don't yet have a position filled that was approved in this budget, I have some money that I've hired somebody on a part-time basis to help me get this going. And so that's started, and we won't let that linger.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to give a recommendation for R54 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, department heads, for coming here. And you should know that we do care and listen to you. So
Thank you. Okay, that takes us to
that's the
01024,
hard one now to the easy
outdoor
one.
dining requirements. Doesn't have to be the hard one.
And I have my,
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you need all of these copies.
well, this was my working copy, and
Oh,
you see all of my
I
questions.
see your notes on.
This was my more or less clean copy.
Oh. Okay, so we will start with the amendments.
Yeah,
Um,
we're now on 010.
we're on 010, outdoor dining requirements in Annapolis. And the first amendment is the sponsor's amendment. Ross,
Yes.
Alderman Arnett.
So let me find my pieces of paper. There they are. Right, this is an amendment to make the legislation a little more specific. So let me get situated and get the organization. Peter, these are largely editorial things. So outdoor dining includes seasonal parking lot, sidewalk, cafe, as defined in. So the blue is the editorial. It's just a reference back to. And then number two, it's been a while since I've looked. The outdoor dining areas shall be located within outdoor areas of the restaurants, including but not limited to private sidewalks, cafes, and so forth, and other suitable areas. Turns out, actually, in the code from a long time ago, we had allowed outdoor dining on patios of restaurants and so forth. And so this is really wordsmithing more than a substantive change. It just wants to make sure that we're including all the places that and are specific about where outdoor dining can be exercised, can happen.
Alderman, let me ask, other suitable areas. That sounds, what would that entail other than what's already listed?
Well, one that, because I was thinking about that as I was reading this, rooftops. That's another suitable area. We probably could have just included rooftops and not said other suitable areas, but, and I certainly would recommend that fix if that's what you're desired. I think it was an attempt to not save through the legislation. We've have actually figured out where all the different places dining could be occurred, and so it's allowing if somebody has some other place that is suitable to the director, that they would be able to propose outdoor dining in that space.
Okay.
Another one that occurs to me is if they're near the water, they may have a floating pontoon that they would want to do outdoor dining on, or a watercraft that they would do. So it was an attempt to not limit it to this specific listing, but say allow that there could be other places.
Well, who would define what's the suitable area?
The planning director.
So that goes to the planning.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
well, we can ask ask him if he'll take on that assignment, but him or her.
Mr. Director Jakubiec, are you following where we are with this? I see your hesitation already. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but and I know that I feel like we're dumping a lot of things on you, and I don't use the term negatively, putting more on you. Say dumping.
It's okay. That's what we're here for. Right?
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of Amendment 1?
I do have so what page are we on?
Well, this is Amendment 1. It's the list of amendments.
Okay.
Page 1.
So we were on the number 2 portion, and it's talking about delineating where outdoor dining can occur.
It's under motion, but number 2.
Location.
Isn't it the case that the principal distinction between dining and outdoor dining is that outdoor dining removes parking, and that's what's triggering the special exception requirement? So, if are we going to say that a restaurant would require a special exception if they want to allow tables on an outdoor patio that's reasonable, or a sidewalk next to the front door? Would that trigger a special exception?
So I would respond by saying outdoor dining is much broader than just parking, because it includes the previously existed sidewalk dining, which is predominant in Ward 1, but does occur in other wards. And it could well be that this might be gilding the lily, if that's what your question is suggesting. But outdoor dining, even in the previous code, was allowed on patios.
Yes.
So it's a purpose. The main thrust of the legislation is to put in the use tables an allowance for dining outdoors. And it is also intending to be broad, and including all the different, there's 4 primary types of outdoor dining,
Right.
and so forth. And this is just simply something that is an amendment to a section entitled in Ordinance 10 that talks about where outdoor dining can occur. And it is gives examples, but the other suitable areas is meant to not limit it to just the examples. And the question I think that the chair is putting to you is, are you willing to be the judge of what other suitable areas could be where outdoor dining could be permissible?
Yes, in fact, we are in that case now. When we get an application for a minor site design plan, for instance, we have to make that determination and see what conditions that might flow through that type of locational decision. So, in answer to your question, yes, that seems reasonable.
And the last part on the back side of that amendment actually does more or less speak to parking, which is if someone applies for outdoor dining and therefore takes away parking, but then doesn't use it, we'd like to see that space returned to parking. And so that's the sense of the aim of this amendment here, just defining that if you've applied for and some reason gone through getting your special exception and then you don't use it,
Right.
please give us back the parking.
Right.
And Alderman, it is under the instruction of the city manager, not the planning director. to make that decision.
But yes, that is what's in the code currently. That would not bother me, but that would be another amendment if we gave all these. I'm sure what the city manager will do is assign it to the director of planning and zoning. But yes, the way the current code is written, the removal of parking permits is subject to the authority of the city manager.
Now, according to this, it's new language, but it's not. It's in red. Help me.
Yeah, no, the new language is anything that's blue
On the
is-
back.
Yeah.
Well, it says red, new matter added.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, no, yes, right. This one is the authority of the city manager. The city manager has other authorities per this ordinance to do other things in terms of revoking outdoor dining. I don't remember.
Okay, so that's all of Amendment 1.
That is all of Amendment 1.
Okay, Alderman Schnellmeyer.
The first two parts I think are pretty common sense, self-explanatory. I do take some concern with the third part of the amendment. I mean, we're getting fees paid for by these restaurants using this. What does it matter to us if they're taking advantage of it or not, if we're getting money out of it? But
Well, you're right. So if they paid a fee and they didn't use it,
it
do we
seems
return
silly
the
on
fee?
their part. I don't see the. It seems silly on their part to pay the fee and not use it. I think this is all a bit of a moot point, but
I hope you're right. But if it isn't, then the thrust here is to return the parking spaces being utilized back to parking.
but in the hypothetical of they are paying a fee to us and it is not being used, I think the greater value is us getting the fee rather than it going back into parking.
I'm glad you mentioned getting the fee because I think that's a topic of discussion at the end of all of the amendments. But one of the things the restaurants have asked me from time to time is, what are the fees going to be? And I don't know. I would ask the director at the appropriate time because we're discussing the amendment. Have we made progress on what fees will be? Because I think before we actually put this in action, we really do owe it to the restaurants to give them a sense of the fees that we have in mind. But Alderman, I mean, if you feel strongly that you want to strike this part of the amendment, I'm certainly willing to listen to that.
I think we're all just kind of coming up with hypotheticals on hypotheticals.
That's what legislators do.
I believe we're coming up with hypotheticals on hypotheticals. I don't really see a situation where part 3 could occur. Ms. Reuter has her hand up, and then I suppose I'll ask Director Jakubiak if he sees a hypothetical situation where that could happen in our code.
Ms. Bruder?
Cynthia Reuter, legislative and policy analyst. This legislation impacts street parking also. And there could be a situation where a restaurant leases so many spaces in front of their place for street parking, and then they don't use it. And the public is going, why can't we park there? And why is there not a restaurant or tables there if we can't park there? That's kind of situation.
Director Kubiak?
And I think that's where the relevance of this amendment is most apt to apply. The public has an interest in the right-of-way or the sidewalk, for instance, and if those things are not being used and are simply reserved for something that's providing no benefit to the public may want to have a wider berth as they pass through the restaurant or pass, or more parking spaces. So that's why it's the city manager, because at that point, it's not a regulatory thing like I would handle. It's a policy issue. You're using the right of way. You agreed to use it. You're not doing it. We have parades here all summer. We need that space. So we're going to, take it back.
So that's more in line for the public right-of-way areas rather than the private out. the
Yeah,
private
so I
space.
feel less,
Okay.
I don't think it's as important on the private restaurant parking
That-
lot.
That
Particularly if
makes a
they
lot
pay
more-
the fee. If they pay the fee and then they're not using it because restaurant businesses change or something, the obvious request then is, I'd like to get my fee refunded. And that gets complicated, particularly way the fees in lieu of have to be administered. So
knowing that that's for the private, knowing that it is for public spaces and public right of ways as well, that makes a lot more sense to having it included. So I think that addresses my concern, Madam Chair. So I no longer have an issue with Amendment 1 in any piece.
I just
So
want
would
to
you
say,
move the amendment?
I will move
yes,
it.
Okay.
let me just respond. Alderman, the parking on the street also pays a fee. So if it's the fees that worry you, I think the rationale that the director gave speaks to where there is something more than a hypothetical for this part of the amendment. But they do also pay fees.
Okay, so it's been moved and
Second.
seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Amendment 2, the Savage Amendment. Alderman Savage?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. So this, let me bring it up here. This amendment is an attempt at moving forward with a few of the Planning Commission recommendations. In particular, they recommended that the permit duration not be limited to specific dates and just have it be 3 or 6 months out of any 3 or 6 months out of the year. And so that's the change for number 1. And then for number 2, they recommended that the special exception approvals, making it clear that they don't require annual renewal. Typically, the special exceptions are permanent unless some compliance issue comes up, my understanding. And then the third thing, which I believe some questions came up from the city attorney, but the third thing was to make the department director responsible for proposing alternative access and drop-off areas. And where current language has it falling to the Board of Appeals. And the fourth one is to remove duplication in some of the noise requirements.
There seem to be several amendments that speak to timing. Yours speaks to the time of the limit. Yours speaks to 3 or 6 months. There's a Huntley amendment that speaks to April 15th through November 1st for 6 months. I thought there was
There's
another
another-
amendment
the
that
last
speaks
Huntley-
to
The last Huntley
January through all year.
amendment.
The Huntley Amendment. Is there a way we can decide which of these we're going to support without having to fight over each one individually? Alderman?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think that's a good point, and I would suggest that I'd suggest that you could take an action on this amendment without addressing that issue yet, because the subsequent amendments will essentially, if they pass, they would overrule this language.
So are you suggesting that you would withdraw this amendment or just portion 1 of this amendment that you would withdraw?
Well, I mean, rather than getting into amending amendments, this doesn't change the duration as far as the 3 or 6 months. All it does is remove the date window. because the current legislation restricts seasonal dining between April 15th to November 1st. And so this is a different proposal than what some of the others are seeking to do, which is to change that duration from 6 months up to 9. So I would just suggest that could taken handled separately, because the other amendments will overrule this if they pass anyway.
Alderman Arnett?
I think Alderman Chandler had his hand up
Oh,
first.
sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amendment number 2 also has a couple other things in it beyond just the timeline extensions. There's issues with special exceptions. There's issues with drop-off points, noise mitigation. I think Amendment 2 is definitely worth considering on its own merits, aside from the timeline and date extensions, and we can address our total time frame on the other amendments as well without anything being particularly in conflict with each other.
So what is your interest in supporting all 4 pieces of amendment number 2 as written?
So on part 1 of it, it allows just the greater flexibility of when we allow that outdoor dining to start. So whether or not we choose to make that outdoor dining period be 3 months, or choose to make it 6 months, or choose to make it 9 months, or through some weird outdoor loop, let's say we decide to go all year round, whatever. It just increases that flexibility of when that start point is from January 1st and when that end point is to December 31st, versus the legislation as it currently written has that start point at April 15th and that end point of November 1st, regardless of where we pick the overall timeline. And it also gives you the ability to cut off the starting. It also gives you the ability to not make those continuous. Let's say you specialize in a cold weather only soup restaurant, and your business is hot soup on cold days. So you could do hot soup January through March, and then and then everybody goes inside for the rest of the season. And then you could do hot soup September through December. That's how you could do it if Amendment 1 passes. And then there's other portions for special exception process on page 2, or part 2 of it. Part 3 gets into issues with the Board of Appeals, and there's also part 4 has things with like noise mitigation. So I do think this is definitely worth considering on its own merits.
Alderman
I would
Arnett?
make 2 points. First of all, I have the recommendations from the Planning Commission here, and this is responsive to their recommendations as far as it goes towards the ordinance. There are also recommendations from the Planning Commission about the fund, which is separated and is set up in Title 6, I think it is. Yes, Title 6, which are not addressed towards the ordinance. But the second point I would make is I think you're correct. There's several pieces of legislation that address the time span, and it may be a sloppy way to do legislation, but whatever one gets passed last is the one that obtains. And so I wouldn't hold up Amendment 2 just for the reason that there's several other ones, because we'll have many opportunities to talk to the span. And as it happens, I agree with giving the restaurants the flexibility to pick when they're going to be open and when they're not. And one of the later amendments says you just have to tell planning and zoning, the permits and inspection people, when you're operating and not operating, so they'll know how to manage inspection of the restaurant operation. So I would support Amendment 2. Long way of saying that without change.
Madam Chair.
Alderman Savage?
So there was one thing that I think came up at Finance Committee regarding number 3. I don't know if the law office had any. I think
Economic Matters?
With the finance.
no
committee.
finance.
Oh, the Finance Committee?
I believe the law office said that instead of changing it to director, that it had to stay as Board of Appeals, presumably because they're the ones hearing the special exception application.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I said, I believe the law office said that the language should stay as Board of Appeals instead of stating director because, according to the legislation as written, it's part of a special exception application that would go to the Board of Appeals. And so I would be fine as sponsor to make that a friendly amendment.
Which one are you
We're
referring
on the
to?
backside.
Number 3?
Number 3, dropping.
Wait a
getting
minute.
rid of
Wait. I'm Alderman Savage. You're referring to number 3 on page.
That's correct.
Yes. Okay. So
So,
you would like to withdraw that as part of your
Yes, withdrawal
amendment for
number 3,
consideration?
if the
Okay.
committee's good with that, yeah.
So that only leaves, still leaves 3 portions of this to be considered.
Correct.
Are you, gentlemen, still in favor of?
more so than ever.
Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion to support the Savage Amendment number 2.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please
Aye.
say aye. Aye. Thank you. And that takes us to
The very
Uh,
thing you were just
the Finance Committee, and I just got rid of it on my computer. I do have it though. The Huntley Finance Committee amendment to the amendment. That speaks to, at least in part 1, it speaks to the duration, either a 3-month or a 6-month. But this we approved or gave a favorable recommendation on the months of April through November, or April and November each year. So that's a deviation from what we just
right.
approved. Alderman Savage?
Just to thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, it looks like, yeah, I don't. So as far as there are 2 parts to this sub amendment, it looks like the second one does.
Well, I was
what-
just referring to the first one so far.
Okay. Well, the first, yes, you're right. The first one looks like it removes what was just recommended. I don't know the rationale from the Finance Committee to remove that. Does anybody?
I assume that it was Alderman Huntley that was leading that discussion, but I don't remember. Alderman Arnett, you have some.
Is there another meeting that is going to be taking place here?
I think these are the nonprofits that are here. I'm sorry,
Oh,
not the
okay, I'm
nonprofits,
sorry.
the Adopt a
All right.
Community groups are here.
All
I
right.
thought they were
Thank you.
coming at 3, but
Madam Chair, I oppose both of these amendments. I think we addressed the first part in the Savage Amendment that preceded it, and the second part, again, I think that following the advice from the Office of Law, this has to go to the Board of Appeals, not the director. So I think that this should be rejected by the Rules Committee.
Is that a motion?
I so move.
Second.
thank you. I'm not sure we had first Savage Amendment during our discussion in finance.
It was withdrawn.
It was withdrawn?
Yeah.
Okay, so therefore the confusion there. Okay, so the motion is to oppose Amendment 2A, Finance Committee Huntley Amendment. All in favor of opposition, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. This is the O'Neill Amendment that speaks to, again, timing 3, 6, or 9 months between February and November. And think back to the First Amendment we already approved, which speaks to 3 or 6 months, January to December. So what is your pleasure?
So there are two elements here. One is the dates in which this can occur, and the second one is adding.
Street Cafe.
Let's see. This adds an additional 3 months for outdoor dining. So you can do 3, 6, or 9 months, starting February 1st and ending November. I'm not personally in favor of 9 months, but I did have a meeting with a group of restaurants in my ward, and that was their sense. In the interest of getting this passed, I will set aside, at least for now, my reservation about 9 months. And I think that the First Amendment, the Savage Amendment, really extended it to their choice all year long. So if somebody has a restaurant that serves hot chocolate and parkas and wants to do dining in December, this would limit that flexibility.
Well, it does two things, and that is gives the option of 3, 6, or 9.
Correct.
But it also limits the time during the year
Correct.
from February to November.
Correct. I'd be interested in Alderman Schellenmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if we go to Amendment 3A from the Finance Committee, that hammers out that inconsistency where it gives you the 9 months but keeps the total time frame of January 1st to December 31st. So if we vote down Amendment 3, but we like the 9-month time frame, we could vote down Amendment 3 or make no comment on Amendment 3 and support Amendment 3A, and that would accomplish
Is that a
what
motion?
we are hoping for. So I am going to make the motion that we give a negative recommendation to 3 and a positive recommendation to 3A, if I'm allowed to do two motions at once.
Well, we should take the first motion, which would be to oppose Amendment 3, the O'Neill.
Okay, so an unfavorable recommendation to 3.
Second.
All in favor of opposing Amendment 3, please say aye.
Aye. And
Okay.
I am now going to make a positive recommendation on 3A, a favorable motion on 3A.
I'll
And-
second that for sake of discussion.
Okay, so 3A is the Huntley Amendment.
Yes.
But I am looking at the intervals here.
The what?
3, 6, and 9. Okay, they're there. So that is encompassing the 3 intervals, 3, 6, or 9 months, plus January through December.
Yes. So 3A gives us that up to 9 months while keeping the time frame from the Savage Amendment of the full year flexibility. So now we are debating 9 months on that consistent time frame.
Okay.
So I
Alderman?
second it for the sake of discussion. In constructing the legislation, I have been trying to balance several different concerns or considerations. And one of the original legislation was for 3 or 6 months, not 9 months. I still prefer that. I will probably not vote for the 9 months, but I suspect that that will be passed by the council. So that would be my comment on 3A. I think Alderman Savage also has some comments.
Alderman Savage?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I do have concerns. As one of the sponsors, I'll say I'm not going to support at this point 9 months extension because the legislation was drafted from the get-go as just providing a way forward for seasonal dining. And so 9 months, if you think about it, each season's 3 months. So it's essentially 3 out of 4 seasons of the year. That gets really close to blurring the line with permanent. And I think they need to get treated separately. I have legislation I'm actively working on with the law office and to provide for a path towards permanent outdoor dining, because it's hard to address that without providing some permanent solution to repurposing parking lot. So I get, and I agree with, I think some of our colleagues who are trying to change things to 9 months. I agree with where their heart is as far as they want to provide. They want to get closer to a point of having permanent outdoor dining. But again, this legislation is not designed for that. And my worry is if we extend it to 9 months, that removes, in my mind, any incentive for somebody to follow the permanent path when that gets passed and created by us. They're always going to use this seasonal because it's going to be a lot easier. Where I would like to see a permanent path where they can repurpose parking lots. They can, if they want to expand their business, they can go through. If they want to add more outdoor dining, but happen to have to add a couple of restrooms or kitchen facilities, they could do that because then they won't have to adhere to the parking requirements. They can, or if they can add with the permanent path, they'll be able to remove the temporary tents and put up permanent pergolas, permanent structures. Or they may want to put in some trees in the parking lot, but they can't do any of those things until we have a path of permanence. And this, so what the problem with this, just with the legislation, if this seasonal is made into permanent, again, I think they'll just continue down this road without ever looking towards how to make it permanent. And so I would, because one of my intentions is to, ideally, I would love to see these parking lots repurposed. And seasonally, the parking lots are always going to remain in place, whether it's 3 or 6 months, they're going to revert to being parking lots. And as our colleague from Ward 5 has indicated, is that parking lots are very poor land use, and we get minimal property value, property tax out of that land use. And so I really don't want to do anything that might mistakenly perpetuate that use even further. So the bottom line is I would recommend you stick with 6, see how it goes, but also compare it with the path towards permanence that'll be introduced here hopefully by April.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Arnett.
In response, I certainly have agreed to this, giving the restaurants the flexibility of when they choose to be open. They're a business. They know their clientele better than I know their clientele or any other legislator. I would be comfortable with more than 6 months. 7 is a number that occurs to me. But I think that providing parking, as 3 of the restaurants in Ward 2 have chosen to do, instead of putting outdoor dining in their parking lot. One of the Evelyn's put a front porch on theirs. They went through the regular process to add an addition to their building. The former Flamont, I can't think of its name now, chose to build a patio and keep their off-street parking with the express desire to provide that convenience to their customers. And Agave also did, the former Agave also did a front porch rather than using their parking. Underlying all of this legislation is the notion of how can we accommodate outdoor parking during the seasonal months. That was the original desire, and yet retain some parking during the months where where the dining out is not desired. So I find myself in sympathy with part of this, but not all of it. And I suspect I'm in the minority on the council, but I cannot support the 9 months.
Well, there's Alderman Chandler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand the concern of wanting to find incentive to go towards this full time. I do think restaurants will try to take advantage of that opportunity if it is presented, even if they get the 9-month extension. Because those that are benefiting from the year-round opportunities now are going to try to keep going with that if that is given the chance. 9 months is better than 6 months to a lot of them. And I think, again, if they're going to be allowed to go for a full year, they are going to want to do that to improve their bottom line. And I also see overall parking requirement reform to restaurants and just in general as a larger benefit than outdoor dining. One of the things that I pointed out to 0921 back when that was introduced as one of the many benefits along with outdoor dining allowance was 2 of my neighbors who owned Melindo Cancun Grill. They were trying to build a bar in the restaurant that they already owned. It expanded seating capacity by 2. And they could not do it because that expanded seating capacity by 2 put them over their grandfathering parking requirements. And it ended up being this gigantic thing where they had to pay a developer lawyer about $100,000 to go through a Byzantine process and get their landlord to do this and that before they could finally get through this and build a bar in a restaurant that they already owned and expand that seating capacity by 2 because of parking requirements and that arbitrary number. So there will be greater benefit to that besides outdoor dining with that opportunity, along with the financial benefits for our city's budget. But I think in the short term, trying to get a little bit better of an opportunity for them right now is something that they would want, is something that they want. So I understand where you are coming from. I am playing it a little bit potentially safe, I guess we could say. I'm trying to take a smaller, safer bet rather than a bigger swing for the fences. But so I am supportive of this overall for the 9 months.
So, Alderman, your motion is to give a favorable recommendation to
I will make a favorable recommendation for 3A.
3A.
Yes.
And it was second.
Yes.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, going
No.
on to. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Nay.
right, but it passes.
It passes. Ms. Jackson, I hope you're getting a record of these votes. Okay. Takes us to Amendment 4, the O'Neill Amendment.
Can I hop in and do a brief explanation here?
Sure.
Alderwoman O'Neill changed Amendment 4, so it's totally different than it originally was, which knocks out 4A, the Huntley Finance Committee Amendment.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Oh,
Alderwoman O'Neill changed Amendment 4, and so that knocks out Amendment 4A. The Finance Committee changed to 4 because it's the language that it was going to change is no longer there.
So 4, which one did she withdraw? 4 or 4A?
She didn't. She just changed what 4 is. 4 is the amendment that you want to be looking at, and toss out 4A.
Well, 4A is the Huntley Amendment.
Right. That's no longer relevant.
So did he
Okay,
withdraw
but
that or did she withdraw that?
Well, it doesn't apply to 4 anymore because 4 is different.
okay, so wait a minute.
So we're, wait a minute, Alderman. We're on 4.
You're on 4, but after the Finance Committee looked at 4, Alderman O'Neill changed her Amendment 4.
Right. So what do we have in front of us? Is it the
Amendment
new
4.
amendment or the original?
The original, no. Right now, you have the revised 4 in front
Okay.
of you.
So that's what we're looking at, the revised
Correct.
4 O'Neill Amendment. that deals with hours. That's what it starts with. So is that what you're referring to?
Yes, that's it.
So it's on
Okay.
page
Page 2 and
3.
3 of the amendment. So it looks like she is adding a restriction of the hours from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week, except when, and I'm jumping around, I think, a Monday holiday. I recall that being here and I don't see it.
It's
however.
on the third page.
Okay. So under the exceptions, 7 to 11, 7 days a week following, and then she lists streets, sidewalks, specifically market space, and then Pinckney Street, Dock Street. And then the other speaks to the hours, 7 to 10, except where their liquor license prohibits beyond their liquor license hours. We have liquor license hours that are less than, I know they end at midnight. That's
They
the
all
earliest.
ended-
When do they start?
They all end at 2.
They all
Remember
ended too
Gravel?
now. Oh, I remember it well. But I guess it's the start time for the liquor license.
Right.
There must be a start time. Okay, and then the second portion of that on page 3,
Adds the long weekend.
yeah, the law, well, it speaks to the specific hours, the specific locations again. And then the fourth small Roman numeral 2, speaks to when it's a holiday. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell.
I don't understand the numbering. Maybe that's just an editorial thing, but does this mean that on New Year's Day, the restaurants can stay open New Year's Day now, not New Year's Eve, until 10:30?
If
And
New
Martin Luther
Year's
King
is
Day
a
and President-
Monday holiday, that's what I gather.
No, because
What
these
is-
are specific days. New Year's doesn't always fall on a Monday.
But when
No,
do we
Martin.
celebrate those holidays? Do we have Mondays off, or is it the designated day on all of these holidays?
Yeah, I'm not sure this is, because it kind of implies with this colon that this is an enumeration of the long weekends where there's a Monday holiday. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think New Year's Day falls on every day of the week. And same thing, I don't know, Martin Luther's is a Monday, right, by
Mhm.
national law. President's Day, Maryland Day, is that a Monday? Easter is certainly not necessarily a Monday. Juneteenth is not necessarily a Monday.
Well, then,
Independence Day is not necessarily a Monday.
but Alderman, it says when they fall on a Sunday or Monday. It's not assuming that
That's
they
right,
all.
There's an or. So we're allowing a later closing time on all of these days, whether or not they fall on.
When they fall on a Sunday or a Sunday or a Monday, as well as Sundays when the following holidays
yeah,
fall
the way-
on a
All right.
Sunday or Monday. So
All
if
right.
they're not a Sunday or Monday, it's not applicable.
All right.
Okay. Further discussion.
Is there a motion?
Nope. Director Kubiak?
Thanksgiving is listed here, and I think that falls on Thursday every year.
Right.
So maybe we can eliminate that one.
Everyone will be so sleepy from turkey they won't be up at 10:30
Maybe.
anyway.
I have a feeling they just picked up all of the holidays
Right,
that
yeah.
are listed in our,
And I didn't catch that until just now.
yeah.
Well, these are all the holidays that the city considers holidays, but it's a holiday weekend, not just Thanksgiving. It's a Thanksgiving weekend, New Year's Day weekend.
Well, it doesn't say that. Doesn't say anything about. It says when it's a Sunday or a Monday. Or am I misreading that? I mean,
You're the English teacher. You tell
well,
us.
that's what I thought I was reading, but maybe my eyes are deceiving me. I don't know.
You can have extended hours on a Sunday when the holiday falls on the Sunday or,
Or
Monday.
Right. So that doesn't have anything to
That's-
do
So
with the
you're right. So
weekend.
Thanksgiving would
Right.
never fall on, never fit this.
Right.
Right.
So perhaps we need different wording on that.
Well, it just,
We could just take out Thanksgiving
Or just
if that's the question.
say after when the following holiday weekends fall on, add the word weekends. Maybe that would work.
But I don't think we're talking about weekends. We're talking about Sunday or Monday.
Yes, but all of these have extended weekends of some sort.
Christmas does not always have an extended weekend.
Right. But when
Thanksgiving does not.
never.
You know, Juneteenth. Well, I guess that's a Monday holiday now. Maryland Day.
4th of July is always on the 4th, not on a Monday.
Ex-
Sometimes on a
Exactly.
Monday.
So, I mean, does this need to be? I want us to take a position. I'm sorry, Alderman Savage, you've been waiting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I mean, as far as the holidays, that's a secondary issue for me. I'm not sure why this is why is there interest in changing it from 10 to 10:30? These are residential neighborhoods. You know, we have a specific carve out for Market House Plaza because that's by the nature of being a plaza, it's surrounded by commercial businesses in the middle of a commercial district. I'm be really hesitant. I'd be really nervous about bumping it to 10:30. I just don't see what the need is. You're talking about a half hour, which I don't see as being a huge issue for businesses, but I think it could certainly impact large swaths of the city that have. I mean, I just, if somebody wants to go out that late, they can go to a bar or go out to the market space. But we haven't heard from any businesses requesting this, at least publicly. I've not heard from anybody publicly or privately asking for this bump to 10:30. So I don't know.
Have you talked to Alderwoman O'Neill to see if she's heard from residents?
Yeah, she's mentioned one, but again, I think if there's an interest in really upsetting the apple cart this much, I think we need to hear from people publicly with testimony why this is needed. Because I think it's not necessarily a huge impact on my ward because most of the restaurants are in mall areas, business districts.
In
but
downtown.
I know for Ward 8, I could see this potentially being an issue because they are right up against residences, and I just don't know why this is being pushed.
Alderman, I have to say, too many times I've heard my colleague say, a resident talked to me about it. So there's been many times when we brought issues forward because one or two people had a concern. So, I wouldn't challenge, or question because one or two people asked. But I can tell you downtown is a commercial district now. It used to be residential, absolutely. It's not anymore. And the areas that have been carved out are part of that commercial district. We can call it whatever we want, but that's what it is now. So, anyway, Alderman, did you have a
Well,
question?
the fundamental change in this by Alderwoman O'Neill, initially she had this legislation focused on a very specific area, which did happen to be in Ward 8. Now, this says all outdoor dining, so it's downtown, it's in every ward. Most of the dining outside of downtown's wards 2 and 8 does occur in commercial areas in some kind of a strip mall or mini mall or so forth. Um, I I do have pushback from constituents about the impact of outdoor dining writ large on them. I have not had any pushback about this specific change, which allows outdoor dining to be later on Sunday on long weekends. So, um, I mean, I've always wondered what in the world difference does a half hour make in terms of the business. On the other hand, as long as it's not a work night, what difference does it make to the resident? So, I'm not as uncomfortable about this one as I am about the 6 months versus 9 months, and I still would be open to some kind of a compromise going not to 9 months, but something less than 9 months. But I think the big change here is expanding it to the whole city, and really, when we get to the city council, we'll find out from other council members how they feel it impacts their work.
Hey, thank you. Alderman Savage, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you get your entire thought out? If you can't
there
remember,
was something
that's
else I
okay.
can't remember. But well, the other thing to keep in mind with future legislation or future amendments is that this would essentially make the noise continue until 11 p.m. because they'd have an extra hour to clean up. So it's not just bumping it to 10:30. It would be a combination 11 o'clock.
That is, if I may, Madam Chair, a good point. This is self-policed. And we're depending upon the restaurants to adhere to this. But even if dining and drinking stops at 10:30, there still is going to be the clatter and clash of cleaning the tables of all their dishware and so forth. But still, the primary legislation keeps the outdoor dining to from 7 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night during the workday nights. And that's what's of fundamental importance to me. As I say, I won't fall on my sword hard on this one, but I think the alderman does make a good point. Even at 10 o'clock, after the dining is done, there's going to be the people leaving, closing their car doors and things like that, and the cleanup of the tables. And we don't have the staff. There's certainly not going to be inspectors that are standing by or spot checking restaurants. This is all totally relying on the honor of the restaurants to adhere to the code. I suspect that not all will, and that I will be getting complaints.
Alderman, I guess I don't need to remind you because we did live through the bar war. And we know our constituents well enough to know that if there is disturbances, we will know about it.
Yep.
We will know about it. Not too many years ago, and I'm talking maybe 2 or 3, when they started having entertainment outside the market house on Sunday afternoons or Sunday evenings. And there was such an uproar that the entertainment went, I think, until 9 o'clock, that the then mayor saw fit to end it all. And no one else got to weigh in, but there was enough of an outcry. Not a tremendous amount, but so we know that our constituents will respond if there are things that make their lives uncomfortable. So,
Well, but if I could rejoin, please. First of all, we know that most restaurants, particularly, close their kitchen much earlier. In fact, it is very hard to find a place to eat in this city on a weekday after 9 o'clock and even before.
except the libraries.
Well, only for a particular reason. However, we also know that even with the complaints of residents, there is no real possibility of enforcement. And so we pass legislation with the expectation of enforcement. We don't fund in the budget an increase in enforcement staff. Although I do say that we have funded continuously 3 liquor license inspectors, and we've never had more than one part-time person. But in any event, that constituents complain does not mean that they're going to get satisfaction. Anyway,
So thank you. And Alderman Schnellmeyer's joined us. I'll entertain a motion on Amendment 4.
So moved.
second the motion.
Okay, all in favor of, is that an amendment to support?
Yes.
In support of Amendment 4, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Come on, you got to vote.
I'll abstain.
Okay.
I apologize for stepping away a day job call. My apologies.
I understand. Okay, going on to Amendment 4A. Did we eliminate 4A now?
I think that's what,
That's the one that was withdrawn. Okay, so that's gone. And Amendment 5, the Huntley Amendment. Let's see.
this is new, so I haven't really had a chance.
This is dealing with the alcohol license and requirements, new requirements for a site plan, a plan to prevent the service of alcohol to minors, and specific dates and hours for the designated area
So
for
how's this
outdoor
different
dining.
than what's in the?
It seems to be new.
Madam Chair.
Is it
Alderman
what's new, or
Savage,
is
can
it
you
on his-
enlighten us?
So, I mean, I'm not sponsoring this, but just to provide my understanding is that this is where it does change, where basically cafes have, instead of having to 30 minutes prior to closing to clean things up, this changes it so they have 30 minutes after listed closing time. So again, in light of the last amendment, this would mean if they close at 10:30, if that's the latest they can serve, this means they have until 11 p.m., 30 minutes later, to clean things up.
Right. So the stuff on the front page is already in the ordinance. It's only the 2 things on the second page that are in blue that insert after. So cafe shall remove.
So it says that they can remove their or clean their areas 30 minutes after the closing time.
And this is akin to what I was discussing earlier. Even after closing time, there's a lot of things that have to go on. Downtown, they're required for the sidewalk cafes to remove all the tables and chairs. And so Alderman Huntley is offering this to give the restaurants the ability to serve till 10 or 10:30, whatever, and then time after to remove all of the chairs and so.
But I'm not sure what's on the front page is not new, according to the
No, it's
code.
right here.
I'm looking at it right here, and it says new matter added. Ms. Bruder, can you help us with this? The requirements for the site plan for
Right.
outdoor dining? That's what I'm seeing is
The
is
blue
new.
is what's new, and there is an order
Right.
here on page.
So the hours of operations and the exceptions. Oh, wait a minute. I'm on the.
This is new to the.
The sidewalk cafe language is it currently in the code, but it's moved to a different part of the code.
But item 2 in red is already in the ordinance. The change, the Huntley amendments refer to this or in blue, well, refer to some looks like strikeouts here in item C, and adding an or, which is in blue, and then adding under hours of operations the 2 words after replacing before.
Right. Basically, the only thing this amendment does is to change how long somebody can drink their beer until before the sidewalk cafe closes. Right now, they have to stop at 30 minutes before closing, and this would allow them to drink their beer until closing time.
Okay. I'm not clear on why this is on our amendment under alcoholic beverages. That's the confusing part. If it's already in the ordinance on page
Yeah.
10.
Right. In the middle of
Okay.
it.
This is just the alcoholic beverage portion.
I get that. I'm just
Okay.
not, other than what's deleted on the bottom of that page.
Yeah, there's
Is-
the
is
or is
substantial.
inserted and it says, and then stricken is or allow consumption. So it's will cease to sell or serve alcoholic beverages is the way the new language would read. And then when you go over, we're taking before 30 minutes before and saying 30 minutes after.
So there are three pieces to that,
Right.
ignoring all that's in red. Okay, Alderman Schnellmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I believe Alderman Huntley lovingly calls this the Nurse Your Beer Amendment. And the goal is essentially, let's say you come out to a restaurant or a sidewalk cafe a little bit later at night, or you're a slower drinker. When it could hit that normal closing time, you won't have to quickly pound your drink or your beverage. You can just take your time, enjoy the evening, and just gradually go through it. And it gives the restaurants that extra time without worrying about being fined or hurt through this process, so someone can slowly enjoy the beer. And basically, it's just a way to give guests a little bit extra time to enjoy the product, and restaurants that little bit of extra time to accommodate.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none. Was that a favorable motion?
Yes, it was.
All in favor of giving Amendment 5 a favorable recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that takes us back to, that is the last
Amendment.
amendment. So that takes us back to 01024 as amended. We'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
I'd like to withdraw ordinance 01020.
No, you can't. Okay. Let's see how quickly we can move through speed cameras.
Are you going to
0525.
be speeding through this?
We're going to speed through the speed cameras, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Jakubiak.
Is he leaving yet? He can't leave quite yet, can he?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the purpose of 0525 is enabling legislation to allow speed cameras in areas that are currently away from school zones. Currently, we're only allowed to place speed cameras in a certain distance from school zones, and we all are aware of speeding problems in various streets in our wards. This is one way to attempt to slow dangerous cars down, because as we all know, trying to get road redesign projects through is an expensive and timely process. So this is one way to maybe potentially do a little bit of good and go after people who go too fast and put our constituents at risk. I'm excited for this. I've lost 2 constituents during my time to speeding cars, and hopefully this will make sure that I only have lost those 2.
I move that we approve.
Well,
ordinance-
before you give a favorable,
No, I meant I'm introducing. I move to introduce.
Oh, I forgot
Okay.
to introduce it. Yes, I apologize. I'll second the introduction.
I assume you want to move to support
I certainly support all the amendments.
because there are no amendments. But my comment was going to be, you're putting us in compliance with state law.
This is state law enables us to do this. So now this is the state law gave us enabling legislation. So now this is us catching up to it. No new cameras are being put in place at this exact time if this passes, but this will now allow us to start putting things in.
Okay, thank you. And so I entertain a motion to give a favorable recommendation to O5.
So moved.
Second.
I will-
Further discussion.
I would offer that this is work, and I am paying the price. This is working
Alderman,
exceptionally
got
well.
a microphone.
This is working exceptionally well in Washington, D.C. So I know it's an effective program.
And
I
they have a
support-
tremendous surplus because of those speed
Yes, they
cameras in
do.
Washington, D.C.
Yes, they do. So,
So,
and I
not
don't
that
want,
that's our objective.
I don't want to be an alderman
Safety.
on record as having gotten a speeding ticket in the city of Annapolis.
I appreciate the support, Alderman.
Alderman Savage.
Just to emphasize for the public that the proposal is to have the money go towards, it can be spent per state law on either, I think, police or generally on public safety as far as pedestrian street safety. And so the proposal is to have that money go towards the Sustainable Mobility Services Fund, I think it's called, which is meant to improve pedestrian safety and mobility in the city. So I think it's important for the public to know it's not just going into the general fund somewhere. It's going specifically for a good purpose to help them.
That is correct. This is not a general fund
Right.
revenue source. We want this to go towards safety specifically. And in an ideal world, this will raise absolutely no money because people will drive the speed limit at a safe speed. And if that turns out to be the case, absolutely wonderful. But I want us to have safe streets due to slower cars because we all know what happens when a car goes too fast and hits a pedestrian. And this is one way to try to make that a little bit better.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of giving 0525 a favorable recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We have next on our agenda the comprehensive rezoning discussion. Mr. Jakubiec or Mr. I was going to ask you that exactly, if we could allow them to present. And if you gentlemen would like to postpone your report until our next meeting, we'd be good with that. I'd be good with that. Right, that's why I'm asking.
I do. Very
Okay, so we will postpone postpone the presentation on the comprehensive rezoning, Tyler Avenue, March 25 report. So thank you, gentlemen. And that takes us to the next item on our agenda, community grant presentations. Ms. Lee? And let me begin by apologizing to everyone who's here. For some reason, I thought you were on for 3:00, and you weren't. So I apologize. Okay. You need some help with this, so we could have had these done.
You gotta go.
This is all, John. Oh yeah, okay. Thanks for
Have a
coming.
good weekend.
Kaylin, why are we not on? Why is it not televised? Well, they can't see us. That's normally not how it happens. Okay. Okay. I'm not accustomed to seeing this, even when I'm here, so I'm just confused. I'm just tired. Okay, so this packet is just one. This is all John West.
Do we each get one? Or?
I don't. Okay. So you're going to be ready to just pass it as they. Hello, Miss Lee. Do you want to get us started? And the microphone. Thanks, Alderman Savage, for joining us.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Erin Lee, Social Work Care Coordinator with the Office of Community Services. And so today I'll be helping to introduce the Adoptive Community Grant recipients. And first, we're starting off with Mr. Jesse Rudales from OIC of Anne Arundel County Incorporated.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, okay. Thank you for having us, and thank you for always supporting the OIC of Anne Arundel County. My name is Jesse Rudales. I am the Executive Director of the OIC of Anne Arundel County. Next slide, please. Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to say that we can't do this alone, and I'd like to thank all of our supporters, especially the city of Annapolis. Next slide, please. The OIC of Anne Arundel County is here to empower the community. Our mission is to provide education, job training, workforce development, and opportunities to underserved residents of the Anne Arundel County. We believe in helping people help themselves. Next slide, please. Who are we? The OIC of Anne Arundel County is a nonprofit organization dedicated to workforce development and educational empowerment. We serve residents through various programs that focus on skill building and career readiness. Our services are provided in both English and in Spanish. Next slide, please. We are the only OIC in the United States that's 100% virtual. Our programs are GED prep, job readiness, reentry services, computer literacy, and ESL classes. And we are focusing on the needs of Anne Arundel County, which are the educational gaps, workforce challenges, engagement, and retention. Next slide, please. Our impact. Although we only receive funding from the county and the city to serve 50 residents, we're able to serve 150 residents annually because of our virtual online programs. And as of right now, this year, we've already enrolled 143 participants in our GED Career Pathways program. There's 92. GED Spanish, there's 24. In our ESL program, there's 27. Next slide, please. One of the reasons we have such a high enrollment is because we eliminate the number one barrier with all nonprofits, and that's transportation. Virtual online learning is the future, and there's not really going back to the in-person classroom anymore because you no longer can go anywhere to apply for a job and receive a physical application. Everything is directed to online. Same thing with getting your GED. It does a disservice to go in person to a school because you're going to take your exam online. And you're going to be locked in a room or a school or a facility, and you're going to have to be online, and you're going to have to know where to navigate, what to do, what buttons to push, and you're timed. So our students are always prepared because they do that every day. Next slide, please. As you know, last year we celebrated April Dorsey. We were on the front page of the Baltimore newspaper. She is a mother of 6 who dropped out of school. We had the celebration here, and she got her GED in 3 months with us. Next slide, please. This year, we are proud to announce that we will be back. We have actually 3 graduates this year. And what makes this graduate class so special is they had an extra barrier that they had to overcome. And it was because of our ESL classes that they were able to overcome that. So out of our 170 or 143 students, 3 of them graduated, and they had to learn English in order to pass the exams. So that just shows you the need for our services and their dedication. So we hope you guys will be able to join us on Monday, May 12th at 11 a.m. here today. 11 a.m. for the graduation ceremony. And that concludes my presentation. And thank you so much for all of your support.
Thank you. Alderman Arnett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sure I'm going to think this after every one of the presentations today, but it's so nice at the local level to hear good news instead of the devastating news we're hearing at the national level. So I very much appreciate your presentation.
Thank you. Can I add one more thing? We had a student that was 18 years old, and she showed up at the office about 4 weeks ago. And I asked her, how did she hear about us? Thinking she was going to say somebody gave her, a flyer or something. She was detained by ICE in Texas at a facility. Her mother has passed away, and she had relatives in Anne Arundel County. The family got her an attorney, and ICE worked with her, and they shipped her here. They gave her they went online and gave her our information because her attorney said that as long as she's enrolled in our program and shows that she's trying to become a citizen and getting her GED and learning, in the ESL classes, they're able to help her case. And so I contacted County Executive Stuart Pittman and gave him the information to the ICE detention center and where she came from. So that was very surprising to know that way in Texas, they know about the OIC here.
So you are to be congratulated again for the success of your program, and now you're known, across the country. And the fact that ICE seems to have a respect for what you do is phenomenal.
Thank you.
I didn't know that. Well, I shouldn't say that out loud, but you're right.
Well, I think it's because she has an attorney. So that's where,
So,
and again, we are the only OIC that's 100% virtual. We are also the only OIC that has a Spanish program in the United States. Thank you.
I have one quick.
I'm sorry, Alderman Schendelmeyer.
I apologize before you go. What's the average age of the students that you work with in your program?
18 and older.
That's a very wide range. Do you have a more?
So our oldest,
genuinely just that wide of a range all the time. There's no average.
No, I would say the average is probably between 35 to 45.
Okay.
Yep. Well, if our oldest participant is 78 years old right now.
The reason I asked is my wife is an educator, and she loves working with non-traditional age students, and it's because there's unique challenges, but also very unique and wonderful rewards to working with folks at that age, continuing their education. So really thank you for the fantastic work that you're doing, especially with, new immigrants coming in. It's how we make new Americans.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sure it's on Alderwoman Finlayson's mind because she's on the Finance Committee, but this is a very propitious time to be coming and making these presentations.
Thank you.
There's a strategy. What can I say?
Okay. Is that it?
And thank you.
Thank you.
And I will share with the rest of my colleagues your presentation today. This is the avenue for you to come to us as a council. But as I said, I will share. And I can't say enough about what you guys are doing for us. And it is for us because we can't do it ourselves. And we have to rely on you to help us. And, the little bit of resources that we give Shirley doesn't, it helps you. But you do a lot more with a lot less. So we're great.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. All right. Next. Who's the next?
Sure. So our next person who will be presenting is Shirley Womack with Annapolis All Stars.
Okay. We don't have Can you give Kaylin all of the handouts so she can give them to us and be ready to go? Okay, all right. As long as we have them. You should have there. Okay, but yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Madam Chair and Alderman.
I'm starting. Miss.
I'm Stan Womack. I'm the CEO of the Annapolis All Stars.
I'm Shirley Womack and also co-founder and with the Annapolis All Stars. And
Welcome.
we decided that I was going to just do a little history first, and he's going to pick up on the other part of our organization. First of all, we are the All Stars, and we are a sports organization, and we work with kids from the ages of 4 to 14. And I just put some numbers together of how we reach out to kids. And within the average, within the year, we're working within over 500 kids. And I kind of broke that down where baseball, because we get ready to go back to it, we have 4 teams and approximately 58 players. And they're basically, we was in the City of Annapolis Baseball League, and most of our kids, I said, majority of our kids come from the Annapolis. We service at least 95% of our kids live in the City of Annapolis and within the housing authority and other places within Annapolis. So we touch a lot of kids from all around the city. Last year, we was able to take the kids on a bus trip to Camden Yards and to see a game, and it was very nice because we had a nice booth and everything, and we was visited by the governor. We didn't know he was going to be there, but the governor and Poe came in and to meet the kids, and they was much interested in Poe, but we did thank the governor for being there. From there, when we go into the fall, we do football. And the season that just passed, we had approximately 215 players. And that was 6 tackle teams, 3 flag teams, which is the ages from 4 to 6. We had a girls' flag team, which is our first year of doing that. And then we had 6 teams that went to the county playoff. 4 of them went to championship, and 1 of them went to the states. So we had a very productive year, and our girls' flag team won it all in their league. So they're looking forward to coming back this year. We just finished, before I go to that, we did, they also had the opportunity to go to the Ravens camp during football season. We just finished basketball last week. And this year in basketball, we have 14 teams, over 224 players, ages 7 through 14. We had 11 teams that went to the playoff. 4 teams won the championship. So it's growing and growing. We have volunteers, and I broke that down too, for football. We average about 55 to 60 volunteers doing football. basketball like 30 to 35 and baseball around about 20 to 25. We probably will grow this year in all our sports. We have more and more kids coming out, more parents, and getting them involved in the neighborhood. So personally, I just want to thank the city council and the city of Annapolis for supporting the All-Stars, because it would be very difficult for us to do the things that we do without your support. I don't know what pictures you have. He wasn't want to stay in to do them. Oh, the trips. Okay, the pictures was the Camden Yards. But also one other thing that just popped in my mind that we do. They say no other organization do this, but each year we throw a banquet for the kids and the parents, free of charge. Esports, yeah. But I'm thinking about basketball right now because football right now, because we have the kids like we do a ball. We want them to dress up. We want them to come and, be proud of what they did and everything. So that has been very successful for the last couple of years. So time-wise, I'll give it to Stan.
Just to take off on that, we're doing our basketball banquet at tomorrow at the Phoenix school. So you're all invited to come by. We feed them too. You're going to get some good food, and you'll see a lot of proud kids. I want to talk about our academic and program, academic, and Shirley touched on the sports. We started this back in '89, and they always laugh at me when I say that, but hey, I'm proud of that. We used to call it a study hall, where we had the kids meet at Bates Middle School every Wednesday night, I think back then, for 2 hours, and they had to come to study hall in order to play sports on Saturday. Well, we still do that. We got a meeting now on Monday nights where we call it academic and career exposure and sports program. And just to give you a little history, I gave you a handout that's going to tell you a little bit more about the program and what we've been doing, especially what we've been doing this year. But I just want to touch on a few points. Our goal is to increase the attendance by at least 15 this year, by at least 15% at the ACES education and career exposure sessions throughout the grant period. To increase the parents' awareness by 20% about the importance of the ACES education night and exposure and athletics throughout the 1 year grant period, and to increase parent awareness by 20% about the resources that are available to parents that can improve the academic performance of their child throughout the 1 year grant period. And the expected outcome is the academic performance of the youth to participate we hope will improve by at least 20%. Just a little takeoff on that. We reached out this year to the Anne Arundel County Public Schools. We talked to Mr. Todd James, the assistant superintendent, and also Mr. Andre Dillard. He's the director of the mentorship program that Dr. Bedell started, I think, last year. So we're trying to get our coaches and some of our parents involved in that program to mentor some of the kids who just need some help, in the system. So I'm excited about that because we also know that the school system has resources that can help our kids and help our program. So we're hoping that we can partnership with them to take advantage of some of those resources and get some of these kids motivated and moving in the right direction. Through your continued support of our program, we're looking at our registration scholarships to ensure that no kid and no child is turned away due to financial constraints. You're also helping us for uniforms, equipment, insurance, providing tools that they need to succeed, critical staffing, funding part-time positions to help keep the program running smoothly, transportation, our van rentals, to and from the games and on field trips, because we do take them on trips. And incentives recognize the hard work of the tutors, the parents, the volunteers, and the coaches. program evaluation with the help of Dr. Randy Rao, who's a consultant, and he's a homegrown director of the chair director, Morgan, who grew up in Harbor House. We are using the best practices to improve the ACES program. Now, you guys gave me 3 minutes. I'm a musician, and 3 minutes just don't work for me, but I'm going to try to, knock it down. And why we must invest in our future. By investing in the Annapolis All-Stars, you're investing in the future of our city. You're giving these young people the tools that they need to succeed in school, in their careers, and in their life, and to help build a strong and more equitable Annapolis. We're not just teaching sports, we're building futures. We're asking for your continued support to help us to keep this vital program alive. And the All-Stars ACES program is about more than sports. It's about building futures and our city future. We see their potential, their determination. Investing in them is investing in Annapolis itself. So let's continue to partner to give every child a chance to thrive. And our motto is willingness, education, perseverance, and determination. That's what we strive to impart on these children. So that concludes our report. That's what we've been doing with your money.
And thank you. And you're doing an awful lot with the resources that you're given. Questions? Alderman Arnett?
Several things. Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, these are great seats. Which I was there.
Well, we were in the owners, but we had 3 boxes. The kids met the owners. And I have to say, I'm a contractor. I'm a home builder. I built a house a few years for Kurt Smoke, who's the three-time mayor of Baltimore City. And I never knew it, but he's an owner, and he's a minority owner.
Right.
And he graciously extended this to us. Those kids were excited. I mean, they were off the chain. Not only did they, let us enjoy the game, they fed those kids, gave them whatever they wanted. It was a beautiful experience.
My second comment is, this is a really good year to be wearing that hat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I wanted you to notice that because we're coming.
But the third thing I wanted to point to is the third page on your report,
Yes,
where
sir.
there's a list of things that we need to do better on. And I find it hard to believe that the transportation I can understand, and we'll need to talk to our transportation director about any possible help there, but no home field. I mean, we have fields. I don't understand.
Well, I didn't want to open up that can in this meeting, but it is it's a big issue for us.
Yeah.
Again, I've been at this for quite some time. I told you we started in '89. I was there with Mike Bush when we dedicated the Bates Complex, because before that, all we had was Germantown and Weems-Whalen.
Right.
And for the record, Weems-Whalen has been offline for about 12 years now, so we don't even have that right now. So we've got more people in the city, more demand,
Right.
but fewer facilities than we actually had back then.
So we are busy all the time and sometimes don't look at important details like this, but I think we need to work with our Parks and Rec director to reconcile. I mean, it's clear you're doing good work, and it's also great that you're having fun while doing it, but there's still more things that we can do because, as the chairwoman said, you're helping us. You're doing things that we can't do as a city, and that's why we have this grant program. But there's more we can do in terms of addressing some of these issues on the third page. So we need to, and maybe we can get you to put that on our tickler file. But thank you for your report and all the good work you're doing and the fun you're having.
Well, Alderman, thank you for bringing that up because we really appreciate it.
Alderman Shannon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, in regards to Weems-Whalen space, I could be misremembering, but I believe Director Rosalind Johnson said that we're in progress of doing some updates and upgrades on the Weems-Whalen fields. to kind of modernize, make them a little more safe, because there's some issues right now that would make them unsafe for organized play. In regards to the ACES program, have you had communication with the Anne Arundel County Public Libraries as potential full-time space, or?
No, we haven't reached out to the public library. No.
Okay. Would that be a potential amendable area if that could be swung, or?
Maybe. I mean, we basically run the program out of Bates Middle School. They've opened their arms to us,
Okay.
and they basically give us the gym. They give us any classrooms that we want or need. So that works pretty good because we do need breakout rooms. We got kids from 7 to 13, so we don't want all of them kind of packed in together. But so I guess that's why we really haven't kind of thought about the library.
So the reason for the public that I'm asking is one of the challenges is no permanent location for the ACES program. So that's one of the reasons why I was asking that. But if knowing that the Bates Middle School is still being very generous with you all, that appears to not be as big of an urgent problem. So I appreciate the work you all are doing, and thank you very much.
What can I say? Thank you. I know what you do, but hearing your numbers today, I mean, startled me even more because you're doing even more than I imagined. And just for the record, the fields are the county fields or the school system's fields. We only have one field, and that is Williams-Wales. And by MDE, we can't use it until they decide it's been totally decontaminated, and that's been an ongoing issue. And hopefully, Ms. Johnson is moving that ahead to get it open sooner rather than later. But
Can I bring up one more point before we leave? And I know I'm over time, but there's another issue with the fields. As you guys know, the superintendent has started the intramural sports program. He's brought that back, which we think is a good thing, because these kids should be a feeder system to the high school, middle school kids. Yeah, but that impacts us because, as you mentioned, they own the facilities. They own so they're going to be on the fields up until roughly about 7 o'clock. We got 4-year-olds out there. We can't have them out there practicing after 7, 8, 9 o'clock. So, that's an issue. So, I mean, it's really a challenge. It is a big challenge for us. And it's not just us. We've partnered with a group called Play Annapolis. There's 17 other youth sports nonprofit organizations that are at the table. And we're talking about Annapolis lacrosse, Annapolis soccer, field hockey. There are a lot of people who are impacted by this. Guys, we need a facility. We need a facility in Annapolis that can really handle the growth. And with the Hispanic population, it's really more demand. We want everybody to thrive, but we can't do it with the facilities we have. I'm not going to say
good bid. But what just came to my mind, and this is out there, but so am I. There's a place on Eris Allen Boulevard that's been sitting blank, treeless for years now. And wouldn't it be nice if we could acquire that property and build our own sports complex?
Not only that, I'm a developer. They put the infrastructure already there. I don't know what happened. I've been hearing rumors. I'm not going to get into that.
I'm trying to work on that.
But we've got a facility that's been graded. It has infrastructure. It has sewer connections, probably electrical. Hey, it would be a great facility.
Yeah.
We'll see. Alderman Channelmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you all offer soccer?
No, the Annapolis soccer does that, so we don't offer soccer in our program. But we do refer kids who want to play soccer to that group.
Good link up with the Annapolis Blues would have been.
I'm sorry?
I was gonna try to link you all up with the Blues if you did, and that would be a good opportunity. But
Well, the Blues are actually a member of Play Annapolis, so we are, partnering with them.
that's wonderful to hear.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care now. Next.
All right, we'll have John Wesley up next.
And I think we have the packet from John Wesley. John Wesley and Bay Ridge Gardens. And by the way, all of the groups, of course, this is Adopt a Community presentation. The All-Stars are in Woodside and Hacka on Wilbourn Estates. I just forgot to mention with communities that you're working in. And so, and John Wesley has Bay Ridge Gardens.
Bay Ridge Gardens.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm Reverend Colbert. I pastored John Wesley for 18 years and got this program moving. And we have with us, she can introduce herself. She's our treasurer of the grant committee.
It's Belinda Jones.
I just want to give thanks to the city for the opportunity. Theology tells me that when you win one, that the heavens rejoice. And I feel as though that when we can transform 10, 15, 20 young people, we can put our hands together and thank God for what has happened. There are 190 units down there, and there are close to over 100 young people down there. But thanks for our partners, UMBC, which I did not include pictures of the computer lab. They come down twice a month. And out of that, we have a class of 6 people, and they are now involved in the community, teaching our young kids how to use the computer, helping them with their homework, helping others to write resumes and things of that nature. So we're really happy about that program. We also have the Boys and Girls Club, which we partnership with and get close to 30 of the young kids to sign up for summer camp. And that's a big plus. That's a big plus when they run around with nothing to do in the community. We also partnership with the APD and their summer camp. We gather up kids for them to do summer camp with the police department. One of the things I'm really proud about is the request of a resident for CPR. And we partnership with the fire department. We had 12 residents who completed the course and were certified in advanced CPR. And this was because of the fatality of a toddler that happened in that community. And they feel as though that if anyone there had known CPR, maybe they would not have lost that baby. And so we're very happy about that program. I'm just really happy about so many of the things down there because it's like Christmas every time we do something for them. When we did the tour of the academy and the State House, only one adult had ever been to the Naval Academy. And they lived in that community 25 years. None had ever been to the State House. And so all of this was like eyes being opened up, questions being asked, And to me, how can you live in a city and everything is right next door, but you are never exposed to it? So for us, that's transformation, is seeing the smiles and the looks on their faces. And each time we do a trip, especially with the young children, they're required to write an essay. And the committee will read them and pick the best essay and give them a reward, a card of $25 so they can go and be happy. I also want to thank John Wesley, because I'm no longer the pastor there, for the outreach and mission ministry. They feed at least 2 families per month. And when the call come in between that time, we pick up that burden and we go shopping for those families. There is one setback that I have with WIN, the company. They will not allow us to do any type of religious activities there. Supposedly church and state, which I don't believe they understand what church and state is. But anyway, we do have that going on at John Wesley on Wednesday. It's called Feasting on the Word. They come, they have scripture, they feed them and give them a bag lunch to take home with them. So with that, we're just so grateful for all of that. Moving forward, we have done Black Wax Museum in Baltimore, Hurd Tubman in Cambridge. What else have we done for the kids? The Christmas lights, the Christmas lights at Washington Zoo.
The African American Museum in D.C.
Speaking to the mic.
The African American Museum in Washington, D.C.,
Yes.
as well as they did get to go to the Martin Luther King statue there.
Okay.
We are.
We only have a minute left.
Okay. We are. I'm sorry. We'll go.
Okay. And in addition to that, moving forward, we want to bring a health fair into the community. Mental health, for flu shots, shingle shots, dental, and any of the above. And with what's happening politically, I want to do a town hall. Invite our county and our state political leaders to come and let them know exactly what they may be facing in the future. And again, I just want to say thank you again for the grant and your support.
If I might, I just want to interject that during the summer, we did come over for a city council meeting where we brought some of the residents and the youth. And I think that we did share a couple of the essays the youth really encompassed and capitalized on what they learned here when they were here at the council meeting and wrote it in essays for us.
It was a good day in council meeting then, huh?
It was really amazing as what they picked up for the age group.
We were on our best behavior.
Yeah.
Well, I think you all usually are on your best behavior.
And one last thing, I believe that crime is down because of this this grant program in the community.
Well, that's what we want to hear. Absolutely. Thank you. And let me help you with the health fair.
Okay.
I can reach out to my Link sisters, several of whom are physicians, and see if we can pull it together for you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So, Alderman Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I do have some connections with the Maryland Hospital Association and Luminous Health, potentially Kaiser. So happy to be of assistance through my day job.
Yes, appreciate
Greatly
that.
appreciate
Thank you. We will be in contact.
One other question. Do you all do Food Fridays? Are you aware of Food Fridays? Or have your residents signed up for Food Fridays?
Miss Phyllis does Food Tuesdays. I believe she gets the food from Whole Food, and they go and they bring like 2 vans of food back to the community. We don't do a Food Friday. One of our biggest challenges is transportation. When we do our local stuff, I call on the police department, the community service, and they, if they have a cadet or someone to drive the van, then we use their van. But many times, Phyllis and I and Belinda, we have to use our cars and like the food programs. And what helps is John Wesley is a part of Heritage program, and so they are able to go there and supply food from Heritage to put in their pantry. So,
And whenever they come down where they don't have anything, just to let you all know, I'm like on a 24/7 call line for them. Miss Phyllis will call me and ask me for whatever a resident might need that they can't get their hands on right at that point.
Well,
And I definitely make it happen for them. Sometimes even without the grant.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know how we can.
Well, first of all, I'm very proud to be associated with programs that are emergency management had started, and we've grown to about 250 people. But anyone is welcome. Doesn't matter if you're getting food on Tuesday; you can get it on Friday also. So we'll try to get you the information about how your residents can sign up for that. And you just sign up and you get it. There's no explaining anything or anything else, and we do the lugging.
Well, we will sign up.
We go door to door. I want to thank you for the pictures, and I want to remind my good longtime colleague, Alderwoman Finlayson, we used to do something like this in Eastport. It was an ecumenical celebration at Mount Zion, and it was it was fabulous because it really was ecumenical.
Agnes Abernathy.
Yeah, right. And we ought to. I don't know why well, I do know why we had an interloper take over some of the celebration, but I think we should do that again because it was so important to bring the community, and it was a joining of all of the new gentrificators as well as the existing people in the community with the church, and we had lots of celebration and reminders of how different people celebrate the holiday. But then we had food, and we had good food, and there were presents for the kids, and it was just all in the spirit of the community. But your photographs were a reminder of that good thing we used to do. So thank you for the work you're doing, and we'll get you the information on Food Fridays.
Thank you.
Carry people over from Friday over to Tuesday, and then they can replenish.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Why are you messing up like that? I did not.
All right. So now we'll have charting careers.
Do we have a handout for that?
I don't. Do we have the handout?
Do we have a handout?
Yes. It's,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So this isn't charting careers. Oh, okay. This is the next. Sorry. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. I'm Erin Snell, Executive Director of Charting Careers.
And I am Renitra Anderson, the Community Impact Specialist for the Greater Clay Street community.
And I thought we'd start off by talking a little bit more about what Charting Careers does generally, and then Renitra is going to talk about this grant specifically in the Greater Clay Street community. We are so grateful for the city. You all have been providing support to us from the very beginning, and it has been instrumental for us being able to impact many lives here in the city. Our mission is about inspiring youth to discover their power and reach their goals, and we do that through a lot of different ways, but from starting with second graders and serving them all the way through elementary, middle, high school, to and through college in terms of wraparound support, after school programming, mentoring, and also prevention services. We now have 16 students in college from the city, mostly from public and subsidized housing here. And recently we're able to have a part-time person who now works specifically with those college students, because being first in your family to go to college is hard to get there, and it's hard to stay there. So it is such a joy for us to see we're going to have our first 2 four-year college students graduating this spring. Both grew up in Robinwood community and are just leaders and doing really well. So we're so excited. You can go to the next slide, please. That is one of our UMBC students right there. And actually, she lived in the Clay Street community for quite a while, but they now are in a different community in the area. We serve over 70 students now, and actually that says 40 families, but we have 50 families that we work very closely with. And then we also do career days for the Annapolis Middle School and have every year serve 280 kids at that, and then serve more families through our impact specialist programs. We have in Clay Street, Woodside Gardens, Eastport, and Annapolis, and just starting in Annapolis Gardens through some of that. You can go to the next slide, please. Again, we have this long-term model because we know it's to serve a young person, you need to serve their family, and to serve a family and partner with them, you really need to build trust over time. And so that's why leaders like Renitra are so important, who live in the neighborhood where we're serving, so that Renitra knows what's happening, what the community needs, and has those relationships so we can be most impactful. For instance, one of our students, you can see in the top left, that's her in 3rd grade, and she's about to start at high school. And seeing the progress that that young woman has been making across these many years is really exciting for us. You can go to the next slide. And what's different about us too is we're not just thinking about the individual child, we're thinking about that relationship and in that community setting, and also about changes that might need to happen in our broader society, which is why we've started a new effort around prevention, but also taking kids to national conferences. You can go to the next slide, please. And then getting to this program in particular, these are our project goals, and I'll let Renitra talk now about her work specifically in the Clay Street community.
Hello, everyone. So this past year, my work, I wanted to concentrate more on collaborating with other entities in the community, like Penrose, Oberry Court, College Creek Terrace, Stanton Center, College Creek Church, First Baptist Church, and things of that nature, because I think that it's very important that we show the community that we can work together. So a lot of the things that I did this past year, I helped out for the Easter event down at the Oberry Court College Creek Terrace Rec. We partnered with College Creek Church to do events at the Haven there. He's allowed me to do tenants' rights events there, paint and sips there, family dinners there. We did a Christmas gathering there where I partner with the Greater Clay Street Community Development Corporation, where we passed out toys to the children in the community. We partnered with Stanton Center for Christmas as well as for Halloween. And I think the community is seeing now that we're coming together more. And that's important because a lot of people are just doing, like, at one point, it was like 4 of the same things going on in the community. And that just didn't make sense to me. So this year, like, because of that, I'm excited because I brought that up to Pastor Isaac. And we are collabing together for an Easter event on April the 19th at Mary Moss Academy, where we're going to do the event. And it's First Baptist Church, College Creek Church, Charting Careers, the Stanton Center. We have Daisha coming in from over in Eastport, and who else? Penrose Properties. They're jumping on board this year so that we can show them once again that we're coming together because we need to do this together. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're, really working on. And then we started a new initiative, the Greater Clay Street Collaborative. Charting Careers got picked as the quarterback through Annapolis, Partnership for Children, Youth, and Families for the Enough Act, because our area in the census came up for poverty. So we have been meeting biweekly since September to put anybody who has a vested interest in the Greater Clay Street community. We are all coming together to try to work to combat this poverty issue in our community and showing them that we're going to do this together.
It's Renitra. And you can go to the next slide if you don't mind. And actually the next one to just show. So this is the Greater Clay Street Collaborative, just initial meetings. And now we're working to really work in pillars of cradle to career education, family health and wellness, as well as family economic stability, and then community safety and support. And so we've been pulling from all these sectors, and I'm excited to hear your connections too. Just hearing about the health and the connections at Luminous and some of the other places, we definitely need to pick your brains about that too. You can go to the next slide if you don't mind.
Yeah, I need that connection.
1 minute, okay. And just some more pictures of events. So top left corner, we were able to take 3 youth from Clay Street as well as youth from other communities to a national conference to learn from their peers around the country about prevention. We've been doing family dinners. There's Halloween. You can go to the next slide, please. There's a list, as Renitra mentioned, of some of the activities that have happened specifically in Clay Street in partnership with other groups. You can go to the next slide, please. This was the Unity Day that the Clay Street has been organizing itself, and we were happy to be a partner there at that. We were able to do some city tours and also some field trips this summer as well with students. Go to the next slide, please. And then really importantly too, Renitra and our team does case management with families. So those are those mental health connections, those connecting to emergency assistance, all of those things to make sure families are stable. Go to the next slide, please. And then what we're seeing is that our programming is working. So as I mentioned, we're having students go to college and be successful there. But we're also, students on our surveys are saying that we're helping them be more successful at school, making them have higher aspirations. And we're starting to hear these students who are now in college saying how it was because of their mentors and hearing the success of their older peers that they knew they could do that for themselves. You can go to the next slide, please. Not all of our students are matched with mentors, but about 20 of them are, and they all 100% were saying that their mentor really cares about them. You can go to the next slide. And then families saying that we help them build a more positive relationship with their children, help them achieve their own goals. So it's really exciting to see that the investment that you guys have made into us is working. Thank you. And yep, I think that's it. We're open for any questions.
Well, you touched on a couple of things, and I'm taking the liberty as here to speak first. One, your collaborative effort. I think that speaks volumes because, we can all do a little bit, but coming together, we can do phenomenal things. And you are demonstrating. And secondly, I really appreciate your gathering the data to show the impact that you're having. We call this adopting a community for a reason, because we know that if you're dedicated to a specific community, you can make a difference. And the fact that you're documenting it will speak volumes for all of us. So continue to do that.
Thank you.
And sharing it because it matters.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, gentlemen.
Could we go back to about the third or fourth slide? The one that had CDC at the bottom. That one. So I don't want to start off with a downer, but I do want to remind everybody that this slash and burn thing that we're having at the national level is coming home to all of us. And CDC is an agency, and I'm sure you have too, Alderman Chandomar, but one I worked a lot with in my professional career. And we're going to have to keep doing the good things at this level, and I want to talk about those with you. But we need to find every way we can to let the new administration know the things that they're doing that hurt people in their everyday life. But speaking of not hurting people and good things you're doing, I agree with you, Alderwoman, Madam Chair, but I was particularly struck. I think that working across communities is so important because a lot of the bad things we see happen are because of community divisions. And so I really applaud that kind of effort on your part. And I second the notion of actually seeing the results. That's very helpful to us. I mean, we're happy that you're helping us, but you can help us, and that increases our zeal to continue and maybe even strengthen the kind of help we can give. So thank you again. It is really easy to feel good about the reports we're getting today, all of them, and we'll got one more to come still. But I wish we could do more. And I think we really do need to think about how we can do that. You and I have talked about coordinating all of our different programs, but also increasing the size of the pot. If we took the size of the pot when Alderwoman Finlayson and I joined the council 17 plus years ago and just aged it by the consumer price index, we'd be giving a lot more money than we're giving now. And that's an argument I want to make at our budget hearings, which are starting fairly soon. But again, thank all of you, but you in particular, because you're here right now, for what you're doing, and you're doing good work. So thank you.
Thank you. And with further investment, we have kids who want to be in our programs who we can't serve because to do what we do, it's a really thorough wraparound. And so we try to serve as many as we can, but with additional support, we would be able to serve that many more students and families too. So thank you for that.
Thank
you.
Anything to add? Well, thank you.
Thank you again.
And again, I apologize for having to wait so long.
Okay.
It's
for a good cause.
Yeah.
It's for a good cause. Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
It is Friday, isn't it?
Yes.
My goodness. All right.
All right. So next we'll be having Restoration Church with Pastor Cheryl Menendez.
Kaylin, you want to? Talking about picture.
Yeah.
I'm Pastor Cheryl Menendez from
Are there handouts also?
We're passing out.
Oh, we have 2 binders.
Yes. I need you to look at both of them. Okay, if you get an opportunity. You can just flip through them. They're pictures. Because I felt a picture was worth more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I just see paperclip papers there.
Oh,
that
this is because it's part of my presentation.
Okay. No, you go
ahead.
ahead.
I'll share that with you. Okay. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you all so much. Been working with the city for I don't know how many years, and I'm excited that we're able to be here today. Wanted to share with you with our program with restoration and with the H2O Clubhouse and what we're doing for the community. I'm happy to hear that it's not just Robin Wood. What you see here today are papers of over 1,000 plus, several thousand plus communities that we also provide food for. These are the actual persons, what we provide for them, the dates that they provide, that it's provided, because we actually bring in an actual U-Haul every other Thursday to feed our communities. That's Robinwood, Harbor House, Madison Street, and we have one more. It's 4 of them. But these are the actual citizens. These are the number of people they have in their families and what we provide for them. One of the things that I want to share, basically, because I got started off a little that I shouldn't have done, but what we're looking for is we took what has been happening with poverty amongst plenty and what is being done about our school system with what we're happening with our children in our clubhouse. We have, for those of you who have not been there, I would encourage you to please come. We invested an awful lot in Robinwood to rebuild that place so that we have students. Those students are actually ages 11 to 17. We provide services, and those services include mental health. Those services include, of course, as I said, food. We provide services for them for education. We've been working in Anne Arundel County Public Schools for about 30 years now. So we actually have access to, we've been asked to come now, of course, to Annapolis Middle. We'll be starting there in April, because Annapolis Middle did not have a program that really was for middle schools. A lot of them were for the other, well, middle school, I should say, the 7th and 8th grade. So that's where we will be starting with them. But we work in the community with the families. We go door to door. We help the children. As you all know, we have opened a music studio. My only concern about that is we're not able to keep someone who can actually teach the students like we want them to be taught. If you see the pictures, you will see all of the things, and that's not even all of them. That's just a little bit of what we do with our students. It's an opportunity for us to see that they have evidence-based practices like BOCFIN, ACEs, because we're all certified for adverse child experiences. And for those programs, what we're seeing is when you look at what actually happened, and I'll share just a minute, with what took place when the Poverty Amidst Plenty was done, what we found out was what's happening in our communities was that the children, a lot of them did not have food, the food that they need, the nutrition that was necessary for them to go to school, to be satisfactory. We have a lot of children who are just in the streets. We have a lot of children who don't even feel good about school anymore because they don't understand what is happening. With the mental health piece of it, which is very important for me, is the fact that we're doing ACEs, is the fact that, as many of you are familiar with what ACEs is, what we're finding out of a lot of these children are just walking the streets sometimes because they don't feel safe. The parents don't feel safe for them as well. So with me right now, we have just, one of the other pieces that's important for me is that we've just purchased a van, another van, because we were just kind of stuck, not really stuck, but in Robinwood, but now I can go and pick up children from other areas as well. And those will be ages 11 to 17. I'm very excited about that. What I didn't share with you that it's we're also in Brooklyn. So I have Brooklyn Park. I've been down there for 9 years. So we have a building that's about 5,000 square feet that's there, and we have children from the schools that are there. So that's separate from what we're doing in Annapolis, because in Annapolis we have Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, and we have the opportunity to go to the communities, to the families, and provide the services that are needed. When we're talking about the students, I think one of my concerns is that children don't feel safe anymore in our communities. They don't feel safe about school. They don't feel safe about who they are. And as I was actually studying with our Surgeon General, who said that the biggest disease in our country right now, it's not drugs, it's not alcohol, it's not any of those things, but it's loneliness. And when people are lonely, especially our children, they're getting involved with behaviors that they should not be involved with. And that's why, thanks to part of what you provide for us and with the Department of Mental Health, we're able to create a beautiful, safe environment for these children that they can come to, and just about anything you can think of for mental health, for physical health, they have access to. I'm going to stop.
Because we know you can go on for a lot longer.
Yeah.
With all the things that you've been doing, all of the years that I've been associated with you. And certainly remember some marches and some other things we did.
Speaking of, looks like a March parade.
Yeah.
So if any of you would like to look at these are the actual households, the numbers we've served for all. That's Harbor House. This is Madison Street and Robinwood.
And what is it specifically? I'm not catching.
Every other Tuesday. However, we've had to break it down, and we're rebuilding it in the clubhouse there because there was an infestation of some mice. So we had we have a food pantry that's there, and diapers as well for families. But we were there yesterday. It's every other Tuesday because that's just one of the locations we have. We have Laurel. We are a backpack buddy, And I heard them speak, and we're also a part of that Enough grant with the state of Maryland. And that's not, I'm not that in Annapolis, but I am in Brooklyn because that's an area. Unfortunately, I've just been advised that I am going to be a farmer's market in Brooklyn. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do that in Annapolis, but we have been selected as the site for Brooklyn. Question?
The farmers markets, Alderman Gay has held a couple of them over by Harbor House.
Okay.
And, the food gets donated, and they are very popular. And so, and I think food is, and I actually would like you to explain a little bit more the catchy H2O for life. But food and water is what keeps us alive.
That's it. It's about water. It's about the fact, and unfortunately, Alderman, we don't have a lot of, y'all know I'm very emotional. So with the children to have the healthy water, the healthy things that how can they function in school and be successful if they're not having those things that are necessary for them to survive? That is a real concern of mine. That's why we want the children in an environment, in a place, and you should see pictures of our building in there that we built and tore some things down and invest a lot of money to see that that place is beautiful for those children, that they want to be there. But going back to your question is the fact that and that's that poverty amidst plenty that Dr. Brown and that she wrote about, and also the Community Foundation, because if you remember what we had was, what was it? That we could not get children to the success for the children, and I have it written down somewhere here. And what we've done now is that this is called an opportunity gap instead of what we used to call it before. And so one of the things it is that if you look at, and if you all have the opportunity to read The Poverty Amidst Plenty and what's going on with the Community Foundation and what Dr. Brown has written over the years, is that we're finding one of the biggest areas is about food access. So how does a child, and it actually says here, low-income residents can also be measured by the numbers receiving what used to be called food stamps. And now the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, which what's going on right now, we don't even know if we're going to have it. So what's going to happen? We're seeing, we are really focusing on what do. We don't know what's going to happen and what will happen with these children.
We're going to see what kind of community we really are.
Absolutely. And that's why, as I'm hearing the wonderful things that everybody is doing. And if we could work together, because I was just supposed to have Robinwood, but we have these other areas as well because there is a need.
Thank you, Alderman.
Yes, Madam Chair. In regards to the farmers market, how it's good to hear that it's being set up in Brooklyn, but how come it's not able to work in Annapolis for you guys?
I'm so happy you asked that question.
Is that a city thing? Is that a
No.
Okay.
What was done, I don't know how familiar you are with all the things that are going on, not just the Poverty Amidst Plenty, but that's part of it. I'm also an Anne Arundel County Food Bank, okay? Pantry. So that's why I have a lot of the things that we do have. But when they did statistics and they found out what was going on in each of the cities and the communities, they found out that some of the highest numbers for a lack of food opportunity is in the Brooklyn Park area. And as a result of that, because I am a food bank also in Brooklyn, we have an H2O in Brooklyn as well. And as a result of that, we saw that there was crime, there were I don't like the word problems, the opportunities for growth with education, those different things that are taking place. had high numbers in the Brooklyn location. And so because I'm there anyway, I was just informed Friday of last week that we're going to be a farmer's market because every Tuesday, so I should say this, every Tuesday I provide food through the Anne Arundel County Food Bank, Maryland Food Bank, the other agencies for the actual Brooklyn Park area. The lines are unbelievable. So as a result, they felt that since we were already there, is to be able to provide the actual pantry for them as well. So that's it. Annapolis doesn't have the numbers. They have high numbers in some areas, but that Brooklyn, because where I am, you can step one foot in Baltimore and the other foot is in Anne Arundel County because of what's going on there.
Thank you. I wonder how much of our Food Friday have been contributing. We have 240 families who receive a box of food every single Friday delivered to their doorstep. And I wonder how much of an impact it has had. That's that data that we need to gather for the Annapolis community. As was mentioned earlier, that started small with OEM and has now grown considerably, and probably needs to grow more if the statistics bear out.
And OEM asked me during the winter months when there was the food, when persons were living in different areas or what have you, you call it, when you bring our guests, I call them all my guests, when we bring persons in who don't have food, or the OEM is helping to provide cooking food for them. You have it here in Annapolis.
You mean the shelters at the Stanton Center?
I provided some food for you all.
Okay.
Because there was a situation where there was a lack of, and you all know, I used to do the OEM and do all of that in Annapolis when this started with COVID. I've always have done that. So what happened though, when I was contacted, there was so many people that were coming in, but a lack of, I guess, food that they had. So we provided turkeys and meats and all kinds. They had persons to come down and pick them up, load them up. And that's why I'm saying about the unity and working together. And because we had that relationship when COVID started here in Annapolis, because, we were everywhere in Annapolis providing, my team was. So when we have those relationships, we should be able to call and say, I need X, Y, Pastor Cheryl, can I have? And it was no problem at all. They sent someone with a truck and picked it up, and everything worked out. And I called, and he sent me letters saying, thank you so much for helping. And having said that, and I know my time is up, the police department in the city of Annapolis, down in Robinwood, are amazing.
Everywhere. We like to think they're amazing.
Well, I'm sure it's everywhere, but we work with them, and Patty and all of the officers that come, and the children love them. That's what gets me. They run to the cars for them. For Halloween, the things that the officers provide. We're working with them now so that we can have an event, because every other Friday or something, I have a Patty too, works with them, and to give food or to help or to cook or whatever it takes. It's only with what we're dealing with in our country right now, it's only going to work if we become one. No man is an island. I remember when I'm old, no man stands alone. Each man's joy is joy to me. Each man's dream is my own. We need one another. So I will defend each man as my brother, each man as my friend. Now that just came to me out of 40, 50 years. But no, we need each other, and that's it.
Well, I believe that our police department have truly embraced their mission of protect and serve.
Absolutely.
And that is what you are with the interpersonal relationships with our officers. So very proud of you.
And
One more question.
Yes.
How has the funding helped in Robinwood? And I'm looking for some, data, for lack of a better description, that will show that it truly is having an impact on crime reduction and, all the other needs.
Well, I think we can share that by and I should have brought some with me. We have data on all of our children.
Mm-hmm.
They come into the program. Do they go to school? Those types of things. Are they in trouble? Are they getting? And I think that's more important to us because what we're seeing is those students are coming in the building. They're doing their homework. They have to bring their report cards to us as well. If I tell you everybody's doing wonderful, that would not be true. What I do see is that while you're talking or sharing, it's a safe place. Instead of being out in the streets, on the set, on that wall, they're there. And the parents are happy because that's the piece. It's one thing to have the children, and if the children live in a community where it's safe and everything, but to have those children in our building, seeing that the homework is done, parents know where they are, parents can come over as well. That's what's important. Now, in order to have that, I have to have staff. I want to do more. I want to do more with the music department. We have we built that. It's the only music studio in a housing community. From what we understand, it was not just in Anne Arundel County, it was in the state of Maryland. And so we are excited about that. So when you say that, it's a little bit at a time, but it's seeing that children are safe, grades are better, they're going to school. We have the opportunity to go into the classrooms, to go on the campus of the schools and check on them, because a lot of times parents don't feel like they can go on a campus to a school and feel respected. So I have relationships with Annapolis Middle School. I have relationships with Phoenix Academy. We do programs and things down there because the important thing is to build relationships. And as we build these relationships, we're trusted to go into areas and do some things differently. That's what it's always been about for me for these 30 some years I've been working with the schools and everybody. How do we build relations and lasting relationships? And I'll say this and I'll stop. I got a call from the news on, today is Friday, so it was Wednesday, from someone who worked here in the news who remembered me, and there was a shooting. There was 2 deaths, as you all probably know, in the Meade area. He says, and Pastor Menendez, I remember when I would come out and interview you, and you were over to people's houses who were shot, or people trusted you because you could talk to them, or what we could provide for them. I've helped pay for a lot of funerals in this city too. But he says, can I come out and actually interview you to see what you think about what can be done? I do have some things to say. I can't say it here, but there's a reason behind all of these things that are taking place, and we just need to get together and talk about it.
I think we ended the discussion last year on the same note about coming together to talk about it.
And we need to do it because it's going to get worse.
Now more than ever, absolutely.
Absolutely. And it's not even a joke. And it's being willing. And for those of you who know me, now I was an executive with AT&T, and I gave up my job to start what we're doing with restoration. And it's important for us to understand it's not so much about the money as it is about our ability to talk and share and be honest with each other. That's me, and y'all know I'm dealing with with my cancer issue, but I promise to die empty, and it's working with children and families in this community and beyond. I'm done. Any questions?
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Madam Chair, if
Yes.
I might. And thank you for being part of what was a pretty feel-good day, at least for me. And I want to take this moment to thank my longtime colleague and friend, Alderwoman Sheila Finlayson, for having the foresight a few years ago of kicking this whole thing off. And the rewards are coming home, and as I said earlier, I wish we could do more, but at least we're doing this. And I want to thank you publicly, Sheila, for having the vision to get this going.
Can I just
Well,
make one
thank you.
comment? And when you say about what we have you been to our music studio?
Oh, yeah. I'm not, if you've renovated it, because it's been quite a while.
When you get a chance, because the things that we have, like we have individual roll-up pianos for every person that's in this, and there are things that they have there that makes them feel comfortable that they don't have at their home.
Well, when you were talking about that, I wondered whether you have communicated with Kenny Stark.
Absolutely. We were just together last week.
So talking about sharing resources and connect, because I know the work that he's doing, and I think he's working out of the Phoenix Center, or at least he was.
He is. Was just with them last week.
So I know that our Links chapter had created a scholarship for the Joyce McManus memory for young people who were up and coming musicians. So, but yes.
And I want to say, if anyone needs space, or if they want to, and I've offered that to the community in Robinwood as well. There's a young lady that we've been trying to pull her in to help us, but we have space. So, welcome to it.
And Alderman, thank you. But it was an idea that generated from Reverend Colbert, and you guys all bought into it, and it's proving to pay off. I think.
Yep, you too.
So he's using several of the other pictures.
We have your photographs.
Yes.
I
flipped through.
I have to take that. Did you get a chance to look through them?
Yeah.
Yes, we
you
did.
should see the mayor. You should be on there too.
Right.
All the women that like it. When we did
yeah. Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, thank you for indulging them, and I'm really sorry, Kaylin, because I thought we had said 3:00 to them. So
I think that.
yes. So I think that exhausts our agenda. Anything else for the good of the order, Miss Buckland? Anything? You're just happy that we're finished by 4:30, right? So, all right. Well, if there's nothing else for the good of the order,
Finished.
Motion to adjourn.
all right. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Aaron, did we get anything from the other 5 organizations?